Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
I returned from the desert with dust still clinging to my lungs, only to discover my wife tangled up in my best friend's arms. He'd slipped into my bed, stolen my life, and turned my son into his own. The shock tore through me like incoming artillery, yet I refused to collapse. With each unraveling secret, falsified death certificates, stolen benefits, the betrayal deepens. But so does my resolve. How far will I go to make them pay for rewriting me into a ghost? Brace yourself for a storm of heartbreak, deception, and the razor's edge of a soldier's revenge. Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments, and if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. I can still taste the desert dust in my mouth. It's gritty, almost bitter, lingering at the back of my throat even though I've been stateside for 3 days. That dust used to remind me I was alive, kept me focused when everything else wanted me dead. My official record says I went missing in action 6 months ago. I guess the paperwork never got updated in time because I'm very much alive, standing right outside my own front door in the middle of a quiet American suburb. A single porch light flickers above me, giving off just enough glow to show that someone changed the doormat. I remember Meredith. That's my wife saying she wanted something more cheerful, but I never saw this one. The design is a bunch of sunflowers, bright, yellow things that stand out in the dark. Odd how I'm fixated on a doormat, but my heart is racing. They said I was dead, or maybe they said I was gone, which is kind of the same thing to most people. I survived an ambush in a dusty corner of some place we can barely pronounce. Lost good buddies. Spent weeks in a hospital bed halfway around the world before they cleared me to come home. I never expected confetti, but I also never expected this. It's past midnight, and the neighborhood is still. Nobody's out walking their dog or trimming hedges. Everything's quiet enough to hear the hum of air conditioners. I test the doorknob, it's locked. That's normal, I guess, but it's my house. I lived here, built a family here. My key doesn't even fit now, like the lock's been changed. I jiggle the handle again, half disbelieving. In the window by the door, there's a warm glow from inside. I knock softly at first. No answer. I can't quite summon the courage to bang louder. What if Meredith doesn't even live here anymore? But that's silly, because the mailbox still reads Harrington in bold letters. I wipe my sweaty palm on my dusty cargo pants and knock once more, firmer this time. My knuckles sting. I hear movement from inside, footsteps crossing the living room, a flicker of a shadow behind the glass. The porch light flickers again. Then the door cracks open just a tiny gap. My heart jumps to my throat. I want to see Meredith's face. I want to see relief or shock or something. But instead, I'm staring down at my son, Liam. He's 5 with big eyes that look even bigger in the dim light. He's wearing a too small Captain America t-shirt and pajama bottoms covered with cartoon rockets. We lock eyes for half a second, maybe an eternity, and I see confusion ripple across his face. He whispers, "Daddy?" My voice catches. For a second, I can't even speak. I just nod, tears burning behind my eyes. I want to pick him up, crush him in a hug, say I'm sorry for scaring him, for being gone so long. But his confusion roots me in place. "Liam, who's at the—" A woman's voice drifts from deeper inside. Her voice, Meredith. She steps into view, wearing a loose robe and looking half awake. When her gaze lands on me, she freezes. Her face drains of color, like she's seen a ghost. Maybe she has, because officially I'm a dead man. "Ethan?" she manages, voice trembling. Her eyes dart to Liam, then back to me. Shock and something like fear flicker across her expression. Why fear? Before I can answer, a new figure appears behind her. A man, broad-shouldered, shirtless, wearing sweatpants that look far too casual for a polite, neighborly visit. My mind stutters, trying to register this. Why is some guy shirtless in my living room? My hands start to shake. "What's going on?" the man demands, stepping closer. He places a hand on Meredith's shoulder, an oddly possessive gesture. I see how she leans toward him, and my gut twists. That's when the bitter taste hits the back of my throat again. All the dust, all the sweat, everything from overseas swirling inside me. The man's face is lit from a lamp in the hallway. Adrian Clark. He was my friend, maybe my best friend before I deployed. We'd known each other for years. Now he's here, in my home, touching my wife. I glance down at Liam, who shrinks back behind his mother's leg. "Dad," he repeats, so soft I almost miss it. Meredith speaks first, hands trembling. "Ethan, I thought you—" She trails off, eyes darting to Adrian for backup. She's so pale she could blend into the walls. Adrian steps forward, chest puffed out as if he's defending his territory. "Ethan, man, I can explain." I'm still stuck on that single word, daddy, because Liam used it on me, but I can sense he might have used it on someone else recently too. I swallow, trying to find my voice. It comes out raw, like a rasp. "Unlock the door," I say. "Let me in." They stare at me, not moving. Adrian looks at Meredith. She looks at Liam. Then Meredith nods once, almost imperceptibly. Adrian flips the deadbolt, and the door swings open. My house smells different, like a brand of air freshener we never used. There's a half-eaten pizza on the coffee table. There's a man's jacket draped over the chair, definitely not mine. My gaze shifts to the new family photos on the wall. Liam and Meredith at a carnival, at the beach, even a shot of them in front of a Christmas tree. Adrian's in some of them too, standing where I should have been. My voice cracks with 1,000 unasked questions. "Meredith, what's happening?" She doesn't answer immediately. Liam whimpers. I want to comfort him, but my feet feel glued to the floor. Adrian angles himself like he's ready to physically shield them both from me. It's bizarre, like I'm the intruder here. Finally, Meredith sucks in a shaky breath. "Ethan, the last we heard, you were declared MIA. Then we got word you were presumed dead. I can't process the entire sentence. Presumed dead. But I'm here," I say, my tone sharper than I intend. "I'm alive." Liam clings to Meredith's side, quiet tears rolling down his cheeks. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's tearing me apart. Adrian rubs a hand over his jaw. "You never contacted anyone. We had a funeral, the Marines. They said you were gone." He gestures at me like I'm some ghost who crawled out of a grave. I bark a humorless laugh. "You had a funeral? Without a body?" My heart hammers. I was stuck in a military hospital for weeks. After that, I was transferred, and things got lost in the system. But why didn't you wait for confirmation? Meredith's eyes brim with tears. "They told me the explosion left no remains," she whispers. I mourned you, Ethan." My gaze flicks to the new couch, the cheap motion lamp, the shoes by the door, a pair of men's sneakers that definitely aren't mine. There's too much heartbreak in this room. I swallow, forcing back every swirl of anger and confusion. "What do you mean you mourned me?" Her expression changes, a flash of guilt. She can't hold my gaze. Adrian shifts, clearing his throat. "We need to talk, but not in front of Liam." I take one step forward, reaching for my son. He's stiff, not running into my arms. "Hey, buddy," I say gently, voice shaking. "It's me." He looks up, eyes full of uncertainty. "Daddy, you're back?" My stomach twists. Yes, buddy, I'm back." Behind him, Meredith's trembling hand clamps onto Liam's shoulder. "Liam, go upstairs and put your headphones on, okay?" She tries to sound calm, but I hear how unsteady her voice is. Liam hesitates, glancing between me and Adrian. Finally, he trudges up the stairs. His footsteps are slow, uncertain, disappearing into the hallway. Now it's just the three of us. Adrian's stance is still protective, but I notice the flicker of panic in his eyes. Meredith tightens the belt of her robe around her waist, looking more disheveled by the second. I'm flooded with questions. Why Adrian? How long? Did they really believe I was gone for good? But the biggest question screaming through my mind is whether my wife and best friend are just innocent victims of misinformation or something else. No one says anything for a long moment. My fists clench at my sides, nails digging into my palms. I feel more tension in this silent living room than I did on the battlefield. That's when it hits me. Something is horribly wrong, and it's going to hurt me more than any bullet wound ever could. And the worst part? In that instant, I sense that this home is no longer mine. I stand there like an unwelcome guest, staring at photographs of my own wife and my own son, but with another man. Adrian, shirtless and very much at ease, moves so that he's basically blocking me from going farther into the living room. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he looks ready for a fight. Meredith's fingers tremble at the knot of her robe. She glances at me, then Adrian, like she's wondering which of us is more dangerous. The tension is thick. I realize I'm still coated in the grime of travel, my boots dusty, my hair sticking up in all directions. Maybe I do look like some vagrant who just wandered in off the street. I open my mouth. But what question am I even supposed to ask first? Why is he here? When did this start? Did you really think I was dead? They all collide in my brain, tangling together until all that comes out is an awkward hush. Adrian clears his throat, trying to find his voice. Ethan, let's sit down. There's a lot to talk about. I step forward, ignoring the fact that he's still in my personal space. I'm not sitting, I say flatly, and you don't get to act like this is normal. He holds up his hands like he's trying to calm me down. Look, man, it's complicated. Meredith and I, we didn't plan for this. Meredith's eyes fill with tears again. She keeps her gaze mostly on the floor, occasionally flicking up to see how I'll react. Ethan, she says softly, they gave me your dog tags. They told me you were gone. It was an explosion. No remains. I believed them. It's that disbelief again, the feeling that I'm not even real in my own house. I look toward the window, see curtains I never picked out. The whole place is a reflection of choices I had no part in. Liam called him Daddy Adrian, I say, turning back to them. That's not just a misunderstanding. Meredith's face twists, pained. He was confused. Adrian was there for us when the casualty officers came. I notice she says us, grouping herself and Liam with Adrian, and I feel a white-hot spark of anger in my gut. So you let him move into my house? With my kid? Her eyes flash, a brief moment of defiance. You weren't here, and everything we heard was final. I didn't want to keep this house alone, Ethan. I couldn't afford it on my salary. She looks away. Adrian was supportive. He steps in like that's his cue. I never wanted to overstep, but the situation was dire. The mortgage, the funeral costs. I hold up a hand to stop him from continuing. My mind is going 1,000,000 miles an hour, imagining every possibility. Funeral costs? What funeral costs? A new awkward pause takes over. Meredith looks like she wants the floor to swallow her up. Your funeral, Ethan, she finally forces out. A small service in the community church. People came to pay respects. We even had a folded flag in your honor. The idea that folks in this neighborhood wore black and eulogized me is too surreal. But you had no body, I say, voice shaking. Her eyes flick up. They said you were incinerated in the blast, that there wouldn't be remains. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself. My chest feels tight, like I'm about to suffocate from the inside. Incinerated, I repeat, letting the word hang in the air. Then I turn sharply to Adrian. You sure seemed pretty quick to fill my shoes, weren't you? His jaw sets, and he crosses his arms. That's not fair. I was helping Meredith through a nightmare. She was devastated. I notice the slip from to Meredith. It's a subtle hint they're used to something more intimate. The anger surges again, but I fight to keep my voice level. Explain the death benefits, I say, because Liam's accidental mention is still ringing in my ears. What's that all about? Meredith's shoulders slump. The insurance policy. They gave me a payout once you were officially declared dead. She glances at Adrian, then back to me. I didn't want it, but everything happened so fast. Adrian nods, stepping in like the caretaker. She struggled, Ethan. You know that soldiers' life insurance isn't always straightforward, but I work in insurance claims. I helped her file it. Hearing it stated so plainly makes it worse. My best friend helped my wife claim I was dead. And now you're wearing my sweatpants, cooking in my kitchen, sleeping in my bed. My voice quivers. Meredith looks horrified. Ethan, it's not that simple. We honestly thought, suddenly there's movement at the window. Peering out, I see the shape of someone on the sidewalk. A neighbor, maybe multiple neighbors. They're whispering to each other, eyes wide. The glare of a smartphone camera briefly lights up in the dark. Great. The house with the dead guy come back to life. Adrian notices too. Maybe we should take this inside, he mutters, reaching to close the door. We are inside, I bite back. This is my home. Meredith whispers, please, Ethan, keep your voice down. Liam. I exhale a shaky breath. Yeah, Liam, my son. I glare at Adrian. And you've been parading around acting like you're his father? He runs a hand over his short hair. It just kind of happened. I never tried to replace you. But kids need stability, and we all believed you were gone. The word stability stings. It suggests I'm the unstable factor, a half-dead soldier limping back from the edge of nowhere. Let me guess, I say, scanning the living room, the hallway with shoes and jackets. Liam's got a new routine, new rules, new father figure. And you just rolled with it? Meredith's voice cracks. Stop. Don't make it sound so cold. I loved you, Ethan. Loved, I repeat, focusing on the past tense. So what? You don't love me anymore? Because you replaced me at the funeral with him? She presses her lips into a thin line, tears brimming. I didn't replace you. You were gone. Gone. My head pounds, and I realize my hands are clenched into fists. For 6 months, I was stuck in medical facilities. No one visited me. She looks confused. We didn't know. The Marines told me the case was closed. I tried to follow up, but they insisted you were declared KIA, killed in action. A memory of the final firefight crosses my mind. The heat of gunfire, the screams, the agony in my shoulder. Waking up in that medical tent, hazy from morphine. There was so much chaos. Maybe the official chain of command did screw up, but none of that justifies seeing Adrian half-naked in my living room. Adrian says quietly, we can figure this out. If I'd known there was a chance you were alive, I snap, don't lie. He flinches. Meredith opens her mouth but says nothing. My gut tells me they're not giving me the full truth. The tension I sense in the air, the flicker of guilt on her face, the way Adrian has his arm half around her. It's too intimate. They've crossed lines they can't uncross. I rub my temples, a headache blooming. This isn't over, I say in a low voice. I'm not dead. You don't get to lock me out of my own house and hijack my life. Meredith tries to say something, but I hold up a hand. I'm done hearing half-baked excuses. My eyes sting from unshed tears, but I won't let them fall in front of Adrian. Turning toward the front door, I pass through the threshold, ignoring the curious neighbors who shuffle back in the driveway. I pause only to look up at that single flickering porch light again. The night air chills me, but not as much as the betrayal inside those walls. This place used to be my home. Now it's a stranger's domain, and I'm the intruder. I can't sleep that night, so I check into a rundown motel on the edge of town. The neon sign flickers, VCNCY, missing a couple letters, like everything else in my life is missing a piece. The guy at the front desk barely looks at my ID. He's too busy watching a late-night show. If he notices my ragged appearance and the Marine Corps jacket on my arm, he doesn't say a word. The room smells faintly of old cigarettes and disinfectant. The walls are a depressing beige, scuffed from years of weary travelers. I dump my duffel bag on the bed. Nearly everything I own is inside it, minus the stuff I lost in the desert. The stuff Meredith got rid of, apparently. I turn on the TV just for noise, but I can't focus on anything. Images flash across the screen, local news, some sitcom rerun. My mind replays the moment Liam peered up at me with those big eyes, so unsure, like he was seeing a ghost. I squeeze my eyes shut against the ache behind them. Time slips away. It's maybe 4 in the morning when my phone buzzes. The number is local, but I don't recognize it. My heart lurches. I half expect it to be Meredith, or worse, Adrian. I hesitate, then answer. Ethan, is that you? A woman's voice says, timid. I frown. Yes, who is this? It's Harriet Addison from across the street. I saw you tonight. The older neighbor. I remember Harriet's homemade pies, her gentle wave whenever I came home in uniform. She'd always been kind to my family. I rub my forehead. Harriet. Right. Sorry it's late. She breathes out, apologetic. It is, I know, but I needed to talk to you. I'm so sorry about everything. My shoulders tense. You mean about me walking into my own living room to find my best friend there? Yes, she murmurs, voice trembling with guilt. I wanted to tell you something, but maybe not on the phone. Could we meet? I heard you left and I didn't know where you went, but I got your number from a friend at the VA. Part of me wants to say no. Another part is desperate for answers. So I say, sure, Harriet, we can meet somewhere in the morning. She insists we meet at a small coffee shop in town at 7. I figure that's only a couple hours from now, so I kill time by pacing the motel room, wondering if I'll ever feel normal again. Come morning. I drag myself to the cafe, exhausted. Harriet's already sitting in a corner booth, clasping a mug of tea in her wrinkled hands. She offers a sad smile when I approach. Ethan, she says softly, I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. I slide into the booth across from her, glancing at the peeling vinyl seat. I'd say better late than never, but I'm not sure that applies here. She flinches at the bitterness in my tone. I understand how angry you must be. I just want you to know that not everyone believed them so easily. Believed what? I ask, more sharply than intended. Her eyes flick up. That you were gone for good. Meredith had a memorial service. Adrian spoke about you like a hero, said we should all mourn you. But it was so strange. She trails off, fiddling with her teaspoon. I cross my arms. Strange how? She exhales. They rushed it, Ethan. Usually it takes a while to arrange a funeral, wait for official confirmation. But Adrian handled the insurance paperwork, the death certificate, everything. They both insisted there was no need to wait. My stomach churns. They must have wanted that payout. And you didn't think to question them? Harriet lifts her mug with shaky hands. At first I was in shock, but after a few weeks I started noticing Adrian was around Meredith's house all the time late at night, early mornings. It wasn't just about finances. They looked like a couple. My jaw clenches. So it started before the funeral? She nods, tears glinting in her eyes. I suspect so. I tried to drop hints to them that it was too soon, but they brushed me off. And then I heard rumors from other neighbors that Meredith changed the locks and had new furniture delivered. It all happened so fast, Ethan. I stare at the steam rising from my own untouched coffee. So while I was MIA, they decided to act like I was never coming back. Her voice quivers. I wish I'd had proof. I didn't want to accuse your wife of betrayal, and Adrian was your friend. I felt powerless. I can't help the wave of fury that rises in my chest. You weren't powerless. You could have questioned them louder or told the authorities. Harriet's face falls, and I instantly feel guilt gnaw at me. She's just an old neighbor, not some detective. If the Marine Corps declared me dead, who was she to argue? I sigh, forcing my voice lower. I'm not blaming you, I say quietly. I'm trying to understand how it got this far. She nods. I understand. After a pause, she reaches into her purse, pulling out a folded pamphlet. This was the program for your funeral. I kept it. I thought, maybe you should see it. I unfold the paper. My name is there in bold. Memorial service for Ethan Harrington. There's a photo from my wedding day, me smiling wide in my dress blues, Meredith at my side. I skim the text. A beloved husband, father, and soldier who died serving his country. The date of the service was over 3 months ago, almost exactly when I regained consciousness in that military hospital. The timeline stings. They'd buried me in memory while I was still alive, fighting to come back. Setting the pamphlet down, I rub my temples. What about Liam? Was he at this funeral? Harriet nods, sadness filling her expression. He was so confused, poor thing. He kept asking, "Where's Daddy?" And Meredith kept saying you were in heaven. Adrian was holding Liam's hand through the whole thing. My anger spikes again. The thought of Adrian playing the role of father in front of my own son. I recall last night, the way Liam called him Daddy Adrian. My heart clenches. Harriet swallows. I just thought you should know the truth. I didn't want to blindside you any more than you already are. I nod, pushing the pamphlet back toward her. Thank you for telling me. She stands, smoothing the front of her floral blouse. If you need anything, I'm across the street. I'm on your side, Ethan, truly. Thanks, Harriet, I murmur, voice tight. She offers a small, sad nod and heads out. I remain in the cafe, fiddling with the edges of the pamphlet. The lumps in my throat make it impossible to eat or drink. my mind swirling with images. Meredith in a black dress, Adrian delivering some phony eulogy, Liam too young to understand why Dad never came home. Suddenly, my phone buzzes again. This time, it's a message from a local number I don't know. Ethan, I'm sorry about last night. We need to talk. Meredith. I snort under my breath. She wants to talk? After months of living with Adrian, after a funeral with no body, after taking my insurance money? My hand clenches around the phone. I text back a single word. Later. I gather my things and leave. There's only one place that can confirm the details Harriet shared. The local VA office. If they declared me dead, I want to see the documentation with my own eyes. The funeral without a body, the rush to collect benefits, the hush-hush acceptance that Ethan Harrington was gone for good. I intend to find out exactly who signed off on my demise, because none of this adds up to an honest mistake. It feels more like a carefully orchestrated effort to bury me for good. The Veteran Affairs Building is a squat, practical structure downtown, flanked by a row of parking meters that always seem to be expired. By the time I hustle inside, I'm tense, on edge. The clerk at the front desk is polite but clueless. She directs me to an office in the back, where a man named Carter sits behind a computer. He taps the keyboard with the air of someone who's handled too many files and not enough coffee. When I tell him my name, he frowns at his monitor. This is odd. Your file is flagged. No kidding, I say, bitterness creeping in. I was declared dead, apparently. Carter glances at me, uneasy. Says here your wife provided a death certificate and some additional documents from the insurance company. My gut twists. She had a death certificate for me. He squints at the screen. Global Shield Insurance. A representative named Adrian Clark helped expedite the paperwork. Everything seemed legitimate photo evidence from overseas, statements from individuals on the ground. I grit my teeth so hard my jaw hurts. And no one thought to verify it with my unit? They knew I was only MIA, not confirmed KIA. Carter's face reddens. MIA can sometimes get changed to KIA if the evidence is strong enough. Sorry, man. I just see a final stamp from a higher-up. Looks like your wife was pretty insistent. I feel a wave of nausea. They sealed my fate with a single stamp. Can I get a copy of those documents? Sure, he says, hitting print. While the machine spits out pages, I notice he's trying not to stare at me. You, look pretty alive to me, he jokes awkwardly. I manage a humorless smile. Yeah, that's what everyone keeps saying. When the printer stops, I snatch up the papers. The top sheet is an official death certificate with my name in bold letters. Under cause of death, it lists explosion in combat zone. There's a signature from someone who claims to have witnessed remains. And in the next lines, I see Adrian Clark's name as the insurance liaison. My heart pounds, a mixture of rage and heartbreak. My best friend, the guy I used to trust with everything. He's the same guy who apparently testified I was beyond recovery and basically had me marked for a check. I exit the VA office as fast as possible, ignoring Carter's concerned expression. Once I'm outside, the winter air slaps me in the face. My mind whirls. If the official record says I'm dead, and Adrian helped push that narrative, then he's not just some caretaker who comforted Meredith. He's a damn opportunist orchestrating the entire lie. A swirl of conflicting emotions churns in my gut. Adrian is like a brother to me. We used to shoot hoops in my driveway, celebrate birthdays, share jokes that only old pals understand. How could he do this? I decide I'm done with half-truths. I fish out my phone and call Adrian directly. It rings a couple of times, then he answers in a tense voice. Ethan? Where are you? I say, trying to keep calm, though my voice crackles with anger. He hesitates. We should meet. Not at your house. Maybe at the diner near Elm Street? I scowl. Fine. 30 minutes. The diner is one of those old-school spots with plastic booths and a row of bar stools facing the grill. I pick a booth in the corner as far from other patrons as possible. I don't want an audience. My reflection stares back at me in the window hollow eyes. Stubble. A man on the edge. Adrian walks in, coat zipped up, scanning the room. When he sees me, he crosses over, looking like he's bracing for a punch. He slips into the booth, and for a moment we just look at each other. I break the silence. You helped file my death certificate. He exhales, rubbing the back of his neck. Ethan, I thought you were gone. I was only trying to help Meredith handle the nightmare. Don't bullsh me, I snap. You know how these things work. No remains, no body? I was still MIA, and that means you wait. You wait for confirmation. But you didn't. Adrian glances at the table, where the chipped laminate might be fascinating. The contractors sent the watch you always wore. They said they found it in the debris. I took that as final proof. Convenient, I retort, voice thick with sarcasm. He flinches. Look, maybe I pushed for the insurance because Meredith was struggling financially. She was grieving, man. She needed money to keep the house. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, and you conveniently moved in to help her. Real knight in shining armor. Adrian's jaw tightens. It wasn't like that at first. I was just staying over to keep her company, help with Liam. Then he stops, uncertain how to phrase the next part. You what? I say through gritted teeth. He sighs. We got closer. We thought it was what you would have wanted for them not to suffer alone. I stare at him, cold. You replaced me with yourself in a matter of months. Was that also what you thought I would have wanted? His face twists with guilt or anger, maybe both. You don't understand the mental state Meredith was in. She cried every night. She fell apart. And Liam, he'd ask questions I had no answers for. I clench my fists under the table. He calls you Daddy Adrian. Did you know that? Adrian nods, gaze locked on the scratched surface of the booth. He got attached. I never asked him to call me that. But you never corrected him either. Silence. He has no defense for that. A waitress stops by, asks if we want coffee. We both shake our heads. She leaves us alone again, probably sensing the tension. I flip open the documents I got from the VA and shove them in front of Adrian. Explain how your signature ended up here, confirming I was dead. He scans the page. It was an affidavit I signed, verifying the items returned from the field, that's all. I never said I personally saw your remains. I point to the line about remains unrecoverable. But you sure as hell didn't challenge any of it. Adrian exhales, exasperated. Damn it, Ethan, none of this was easy. The Marine Corps told us that you were gone. We had a funeral. Everyone in the neighborhood was there. We cried. We honored your memory. Did you expect Meredith to freeze her life forever? Actually, I expected my best friend wouldn't jump into bed with my wife. I spit back. My voice is low but shaking. His eyes flare. You have no idea how hard it was for her, how alone she felt. She wouldn't eat for days at a time. If I hadn't stepped in, she might have lost the house or worse. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Are you expecting me to thank you? Maybe pat you on the back and say, "Great job taking care of my wife and kid"? Adrian glances around, maybe realizing a few other customers are eyeing us. He lowers his voice. I'm not proud of how it all developed, but I swear we never meant for you to be hurt like this. We didn't think you were coming back. We couldn't imagine it. I breathe out slowly, trying not to explode. Well, I'm back, and now you're in my way. He leans forward, meeting my gaze. What do you want from me, Ethan? My throat tightens. I think of Liam, of Meredith's tearful face, of the funeral programs Harriet showed me. I want my life back, I say, voice thick with emotion. I want to figure out how you managed to bury me alive. And then, maybe, I want to make sure you pay for it. Adrian stares at me, speechless. Something like regret flashes in his eyes, but it's too late for that. He stands abruptly, shoving away from the table. We can talk again when you cool off, he mutters, tossing a few bills down for no apparent reason. Then he stalks out, shoulders stiff. I watch him go, my mind churning. A black pit of betrayal weighs heavy in my chest. My best friend, the guy I laughed with, sweated with, survived boot camp with. Now he's my worst enemy, stealing everything I had. Or maybe I'm the one who lost it. Because the truth is, the second I was labeled dead, my entire world moved on without me. And I don't know how to reclaim it yet, but I do know I can't let them get away with it. I slump into the front seat of my borrowed sedan, hands gripping the wheel like it might keep me steady. It's midday, the sunlight glaring off the hood, but my mind is stuck in a haze after everything that happened. Meeting Adrian at the diner only confirmed what I feared. He's neck deep in my betrayal, my so-called best friend. I don't have the guts to drive back to my old house, their house where Meredith and Adrian are probably rearranging my entire life like I never existed. Instead, I flick through my phone contacts, searching for anyone who might help. That's when I remember a random tip from a fellow Marine buddy. A local veterans shelter on the west side of town might offer me a temporary bed. It's not ideal, but I need a roof over my head. The building is an aging brick structure with a faded sign reading Mount Serenity Veterans Center. Despite the battered exterior, there's a warmth in how a young volunteer greets me at the reception desk. She notices my Marine jacket and thanks me for my service with a kind smile. It's more gratitude than I've gotten from my own wife. "Are you looking for a place to stay?" she asks softly. "We have a few rooms left on the 3rd floor." I hesitate, pride flaring in my chest, but I force myself to nod. "Yeah, just for a bit," I say, stuffing my hands in my jacket pockets, "until I figure some stuff out." She guides me up creaking stairs, explaining the center's rules, quiet hours, communal meals, chores. It's all standard for a shelter. My assigned room is small, a single bed, a chipped dresser, and a chair by the window. It's not home, but at least the sheets are clean and no one's stolen my identity here. I've barely set my duffel on the bed when there's a knock at the open door. A tall, broad-shouldered man stands there, maybe 50-something, with flecks of gray in his short hair. He's wearing a black t-shirt that reads Marine Dad and has a calm sort of confidence about him. "Hey," he says in a voice that's more friendly than I deserve right now. "Name's Robert Miller, but folks call me Rob. I volunteer around here, help vets get settled, talk through any issues." I nod. "Ethan Harrington." His eyes flick across my face like he's picking up on my tension. "Let me guess," he continues, stepping in with a sympathetic look. "You had a rough homecoming." I give a hollow laugh. "You could say that." Rob gestures to the chair. "Mind if I sit?" "Go ahead." He settles himself, folding his arms across his chest. "I did 20 years in the FBI before retiring. Then I joined this place, trying to help folks who come back from deployments and land in, well, complicated situations." I tilt my head, curiosity pricked. "FBI, huh? That's quite a career." "Yeah, it taught me to notice red flags." He gives me a quick once-over. "And you, Ethan, are practically waving one in neon." I can't help a small, bitter smile. "That obvious?" He shrugs. "I've seen it all. Family disputes, betrayal, shady deals. If you ever want to talk, I'm around. No pressure." I chew on the inside of my cheek, weighing how much I can trust him. Eventually, I offer, "Let's just say I came home from overseas and found out I'd already been replaced." Rob's eyebrows rise. "Replaced how?" "My wife, my best friend. They declared me dead, took my insurance payout, and moved on with their grief." My voice trembles with anger. "Turns out I wasn't as dead as they hoped." Rob's expression darkens. "That's a rough one, I'm sorry." "Yeah, me too." I rub my face, exhaustion settling in. I'm not looking for pity, though. Just need a place to figure out my next move. He nods, then hands me a small slip of paper. "Here's my personal cell. You call if you need anything, someone to vent to, or help with more official steps." He hesitates, scanning my face. "Not to be intrusive, but do you suspect anything criminal? Like fraud?" I inhale sharply. "I'm starting to. My buddy works in insurance and he fast-tracked my death benefits. Plus, there might be more going on with other families." Rob's gaze sharpens. "Keep me posted. I can still tap a few old contacts if we find real evidence." Before I can respond, there's a gentle voice in the hallway. "Ethan." Harriet Addison steps into view, looking out of place in the shelter's rough corridors with her neat blouse and sensible shoes. She's clutching her purse to her chest like it's a shield. "I asked at the front desk where you might be. May I come in?" "Harriet, sure," I say, heart twisting at the reminder of home. "How'd you know I was here?" She steps in timidly, noticing Rob and offering him a polite nod. "I stopped by your motel earlier and they said you checked out. Someone suggested trying the veterans shelter. I really hope I'm not intruding." I wave her concern away. "No, it's fine." Rob stands, smoothing invisible wrinkles from his jeans. "I'll let you two talk. Ethan, call me if you need anything." With a simple pat on my shoulder, he heads out. Harriet exhales. I won't stay long, but I wanted you to know something. Over the past months, I saw Adrian come to your house at all hours. Sometimes he'd stay overnight, even before the funeral. It bothered me. Her cheeks flush. At first, I thought maybe it was innocent. Then I realized how fast everything was moving. My jaw tightens. So it started while I was still MIA. She nods, guilt tugging at her features. I believe so, but you have to understand. They told the neighborhood you were confirmed gone. People pitied Meredith for losing you so abruptly. Adrian was the rock she leaned on, or so she claimed. I stare at the flickering overhead light. She never tried to wait, Harriet. She just cashed the check and let him take my place. She presses her lips together. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I wish I'd done more to question them. It's just that no one wanted to accuse a grieving widow, and Adrian kept everything so official. I swallow the bitterness. Well, official or not, I'm not letting them get away with it. Harriet's gaze flickers with concern. Are you planning something drastic? Maybe not drastic, but I'll find out how deep this goes. I can't just let my son live with those lies. My voice shakes when I mention Liam. He called Adrian Daddy Adrian. That's not an accident. She nods solemnly. Ethan, if there's anything I can do, I want to help. I glance at the modest space around me. The scratchy blankets on the bed, the battered dresser missing a knob. Could you keep an eye on the house for me? If you see or hear anything suspicious, let me know. Harriet squares her shoulders, determined. Of course, and if you need more specific details about the nights Adrian stayed over before the funeral, I can jot them down. Times, dates, I remember a fair bit. Yeah, I say softly. That might help. We exchange a few more words, Harriet promising to reach out soon. After she leaves, I sink onto the bed. The mattress springs protesting under my weight. The room smells faintly of antiseptic, but at least it's quiet. My mind churns. Adrian and Meredith didn't just move on after some official slip-up. They orchestrated my death on paper. Harriet's glimpses proved this started well before the official word reached me overseas. And now there's a chance it's tied to other suspicious insurance claims, if what Rob hinted is true. I grip the phone number Rob gave me, my knuckles whitening. I'm not sure what the next step is, but I can't stay idle. A swirl of betrayal and anger clenches my chest. For Liam's sake, and maybe my own, I need to uncover the truth. Slowly, I stretch out on the narrow bed, letting exhaustion pull me under. As I drift off, I picture my son's face, the way his eyes lit up when he was a toddler running to greet me at the door. That memory twists into the image of him calling another man Daddy. My jaw clenches. Sleep offers no real rest, just a temporary blank spot in my mind. But I'm certain of one thing. I won't let them break me. A few days pass in a blur of restless nights and half-baked leads. Between my lingering jet lag and the emotional spiral, I barely keep track of time. I wake up too early most mornings, stomach knotted, mind racing with endless questions about Meredith's timeline and Adrian's deeper involvement. I'm sitting in the veterans' shelter common area, a big rec room with mismatched chairs, old couches, and a battered TV. It's mid-afternoon, and the sun streams through dusty windows. A couple of other vets sip coffee, each lost in their own battles. I feel a small camaraderie with them, even though my fight is more personal right now. Rob strolls in, an easy confidence in his gait. He catches my eye and nods. There you are, I've been looking for you. Yeah? I set aside a local newspaper, the headlines swirling with politics and small-town crimes. Nothing about me yet. He takes a seat across from me, folding his arms on the little coffee table. Remember how you mentioned your suspicion about that death certificate being pushed through too quickly? Well, I asked around. Got a name for you. Cassandra Martin. She's a JAG officer stationed nearby, known for digging into shady military paperwork. She might be able to look into the official side of your case. I blink. JAG, like the military lawyers? Exactly. They handle legal matters for service members. If there's fraud involved, especially something that misused your official status, they can help. My heart picks up. You think she'd take my case? Rob nods, rubbing the back of his neck. She lost her brother in the same region you served, so she's pretty passionate about soldiers' rights and any exploitation. I figure it's worth a shot. I exhale, relief mixing with nerves. Okay, yeah, I'll do it. I'm sick of feeling like I have no recourse. He slips me a small business card with Cassandra's name and an office address. Give her a call. She's direct, can be blunt, but from what I hear, she's good. The next morning, I make the appointment for midday. The JAG office is on a local military installation, a drab, single-story building behind a chain-link fence. After showing my ID at the gate, I follow a maze of hallways until I reach Lieutenant Cassandra Martin's door. An aide ushers me in. Cassandra stands to greet me, early 30s, tall, with hair cropped neatly at her shoulders. Her handshake is firm, eyes sharp. Ethan Harrington, she begins, gesturing to a seat. I've looked over the brief outline Rob sent me. Quite a story. I sink into the chair, scanning her cramped office. Neat stacks of files, a small potted plant on the windowsill, and a couple of framed photos. One shows a young man in uniform, probably her brother. Thanks for seeing me on short notice. She nods, leaning on her desk. Rob told me you were listed as missing in action overseas, then declared killed. Meanwhile, your wife and best friend have, shall we say, capitalized on your reported death. That's the short version, I say, mouth dry. They also collected my insurance benefits, changed the locks on my house, told my son I was gone for good. I have official documents from the VA proving I was labeled dead. Cassandra's expression hardens. Where exactly did they get the evidence for your remains? I pull out a folder from my backpack and pass it to her. Here. The friend Adrian supposedly had proof from local contractors. They identified personal belongings, my watch, dog tags, no actual body. She flips through the pages, scanning them quickly, her lips pressed tight. This is fast-tracked. Normally, an MIA case isn't declared KIA without a thorough search, unless there's extremely conclusive evidence. And even then, families usually wait months, sometimes years, for final confirmation. I swallow, resentment boiling. They didn't wait. They jumped at the chance. Cassandra glances up. You suspect your wife was aware you might still be alive? I hesitate. If not at the beginning, she sure adjusted quickly once Adrian stepped in. A neighbor told me they'd started well, seeing each other before the funeral. She might have really believed I was gone at first, but something smells off about how quickly they filed for payouts. She leans back, tapping the folder lightly. Okay, so from a JAG perspective, if your KIA declaration was fraudulent, we might be dealing with criminal activity insurance fraud at minimum. Possibly conspiracy if they manipulated official channels. My heart pounds. You can pursue that? She smiles grimly. If the Marine Corps or the Department of Defense was misled by bogus paperwork, yes. Also, any forged signatures or knowingly false statements can bring federal charges. She nods at the photo of the man in uniform on her desk. My brother died last year in that same region. We had to wait months for official confirmation, and the process was painstaking. That's why your case is alarming. Someone rushed it. I shift in the chair. I'm beyond grateful for any help. I just want to protect my son, Liam. They're messing with his head. She frowns sympathetically. That's a family court issue as well, but let's focus on the military aspect, first tracking who authorized your death certificate and how your insurance claim was paid out. Meredith had help from Adrian's colleagues at Global Shield Insurance, I explain. He's got connections in the claims department, apparently. Cassandra scribbles notes, flipping pages. I'll need you to send me every scrap of documentation you have, emails, receipts, anything. I'll also do some poking around in the administrative offices. If your records show you as KIA, we can demand an internal investigation. A spike of hope stirs in my chest. Thank you. I'll get you whatever you need. She meets my eyes. Be prepared, though. This might get messy. Your wife could deny wrongdoing, claim ignorance. Adrian could have powerful allies, and it might drag up a lot of painful emotions. My jaw clenches. I've already got the painful part covered, Lieutenant. Her features soften a bit. I understand, but trust me, unraveling how your record got changed won't be simple. I've seen cases where entire offices were complicit, or where a single unscrupulous official is paid under the table to expedite false documents. I exhale slowly, the weight of it hitting me. I'll do whatever it takes. Cassandra stands, offering her hand again. Then let's proceed. I'll keep you updated. And Ethan, she adds more quietly, this is personal for me too. I hate seeing the system used against those who serve. We'll find the truth. Her conviction fuels a small spark of determination in my chest. For the first time since I stumbled home, I feel like I have a real ally with the power to dig into official records. If there's a bigger conspiracy behind all this, we'll yank it into the light. Later, I step outside into the brisk afternoon air. It feels like a fresh start, or at least a step forward. I glance at my phone, noticing a missed call from Harriet and a text from Rob checking in. It's almost comforting, these new connections forming around me. Rob, Harriet, now Cassandra. Meanwhile, Adrian and Meredith remain silent on my phone screen as if daring me to vanish again. But I won't vanish. The old me was a soldier who never quit, and that hasn't changed just because I came home to a nightmare. Let them try to hide behind their lies. I've found someone who can help me tear down the official red tape that declared me dead. Soon enough, I'll show them all how alive I really am. My phone buzzes relentlessly at dawn, waking me from another night of fitful sleep. I groan, rubbing the grit from my eyes, and flip on the small lamp in my veteran's shelter room. The caller ID shows Harriet Addison. She wouldn't call this early unless it was important, so I answer. Harriet, everything okay? Ethan, she says, voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and nerves. I've been going through some of my old notes. You asked me to record anything I remembered about Adrian's visits before the funeral. Well, I found more than just a few times written down. I kept a detailed log. I can bring it to you. My mind flickers awake instantly. A log? Yes, I do it for my own memory's sake, dates, times of suspicious happenings in the neighborhood. She lets out a self-conscious chuckle. I'm a bit of a busybody, I admit. But there's enough here to show Adrian was practically living at your place a month or more before the official announcement of your death. I sit up straighter. Harriet, that could be huge. Can you meet me somewhere discreet? She agrees to meet at a quiet cafe a few blocks from the shelter. We hang up and I wash my face, the adrenaline already pumping. If Harriet's notes prove that Meredith and Adrian were deeply involved before I was declared dead, it points to more than just a hasty rebound. It might show intentional fraud proof of the affair. An hour later, I'm perched in a corner booth at the cafe. The warm smell of baked goods and fresh coffee mingles in the air. Harriet arrives with a cluttered tote bag. We exchange greetings, order coffee, and then she pulls out a spiral notebook. I never thought these little notes would matter, she admits, sliding the notebook across the table. At first, I was just worried about Meredith being lonely, but then I realized how frequently Adrian's car was outside at weird hours. I scanned the entries, date after date, times like 11:45 p.m. Adrian's SUV parked in Harrington driveway, or 7 a.m. Adrian emerges from house. Some entries note lights turning off late, or times Harriet overheard raised voices. She taps a particular entry. Look at this. It's from around the time you were still missing in action, not yet declared KIA by the military. Adrian is staying over multiple nights a week. Then Meredith starts wearing new clothes like she's flush with cash. My throat tightens. They were fooling around before they even got confirmation I was gone. Harriet gives me a sorrowful look. I'm afraid so. I notice one date circled in red. Why is this one highlighted? She clears her throat. That was the night I distinctly heard Meredith mention insurance forms. I was watering my flowers and the windows were open. She and Adrian were talking about not waiting months for a payout. That phrase stuck with me. The air leaves my lungs in a rush. They plan to speed up the process. Harriet nods, eyes wet. It's sickening, I'm so sorry. My anger flares hot, but I keep my composure. You don't need to apologize. You're the only one telling me the truth. She squeezes my hand across the table briefly, then withdraws. You need to show this to someone who can use it. Maybe that JAG officer you mentioned? Cassandra Martin, I confirm. Yeah, I'm meeting her again soon. This is definitely something she needs to see. We sit in silence for a moment, both processing the weight of these notes. I feel a mixture of heartbreak and vindication. It's not that I ever doubted the affair, but seeing it in black and white makes it real. My best friend, in my bed, with my wife, while I was still fighting to survive somewhere else. A new, sharper wave of betrayal washes over me. Harriet clears her throat again, fiddling with a napkin. Ethan, there's one more thing. My niece works as a bank teller. I asked her about large deposits to Meredith's account. She couldn't break confidentiality, but she hinted there were some hefty sums soon after the funeral. My jaw tightens. The death benefits. She nods. Yes, possibly thousands of dollars, if not more. I blow out a shaky breath. So while I was struggling in a hospital, they were booking nice dinners on my dime. Harriet sets a hand on my forearm. If it's any consolation, people in the neighborhood never fully warmed up to Adrian. He paraded around like some hero, but we all saw cracks in the story. Wish someone had said something sooner, I mumble, my bitterness creeping out. Then I sigh, shaking my head. Not your fault. I appreciate everything you've done. We part ways outside, the chilly air biting at my skin. I hold Harriet's notebook under my arm like a precious artifact. This is more than just a personal betrayal story now. They colluded to bury me. They used official channels to do it, probably lied to half the town, and in the process spent money meant for true widows and orphans of war. Back at the shelter, I find Robert Miller in his usual spot by the main desk, scanning through a local newsletter. He lifts his head when I approach. You look like a man on a mission. I hold up the spiral notebook. Harriet's log, proof of them hooking up before I was declared dead. Plus mentions of insurance forms. Rob lets out a low whistle. That's some strong evidence of premeditated fraud. Premeditated, I echo, the word driving a nail into my heart. I guess I needed that hammered home. He gestures for me to follow him into a small lounge area. Mind if I flip through it? Go ahead, I say, handing him the notebook. While he skims the dates and times, I lean back against the worn couch cushions, mind racing. After a minute, Rob closes the notebook gently. This lines up with what we suspected. They didn't just take advantage of a tragic misunderstanding, they orchestrated it. My breath hitches, but I force myself to stay calm. What now? Get it to Cassandra Martin, he replies, matter-of-fact. She's your best shot at formal investigation. Jag can peel back the official side, those expedited insurance claims, the questionable death certificate. I nod, tension coiling in my gut. I'll contact her first thing tomorrow. Let her see the timeline Harriet wrote out. Rob pats my shoulder. Ethan, I won't sugarcoat it. This might be just the tip of the iceberg. If your friend Adrian was so comfortable doing this, maybe he's done it before. I grimace, remembering Adrian's position at Global Shield. That's what scares me. This might go deeper than just my case. He lifts an eyebrow. Well, maybe that's how we get them all to face justice. Keep your head on straight. I push off the couch, stuffing the notebook into my backpack. Thanks, Rob. You've been a godsend. He offers a small smile. I just don't like seeing vets get taken advantage of. And Ethan, watch your back. If they realize you're onto them, they might lash out. Yeah, I mutter. Let them try. Despite my bravado, my stomach churns with nerves. This is my life, my wife, or soon-to-be ex, presumably, my so-called best friend. I never imagined I'd be at war again so soon after coming home, but here I am. Only this time, the enemy is two people I once trusted more than anything. At least I finally have concrete proof. Harriet's notes, suspicious bank deposits, a timeline that shows they were intimately involved before the official notice. It's not just betrayal, it's conspiracy. And if Cassandra can tie it all together with the messed-up death certificate, I might have a real shot at exposing them. For Liam's sake, and for my own sense of justice, I need to keep pushing. Let Meredith and Adrian underestimate me. Let them think I'm just some wounded vet licking my emotional scars. They have no idea what's coming. 2 days later, I find myself pacing a quiet corridor in a government office building. Cassandra Martin texted me last night saying she'd unearthed something, insisting we meet in person. The building's fluorescent lights hum overhead, giving everything a washed-out look. My nerves buzz with apprehension. When Cassandra appears at the end of the hall, she motions me into a small side room that's barely more than a closet. There's a cheap metal table and 2 folding chairs. She shuts the door, giving me a serious look. Ethan, thanks for coming on short notice, she says, taking a seat and tapping a small folder on the table. I've been poking around the system regarding your KIA documentation. I slide into the other chair, leaning forward. What did you find? She takes a breath, eyes flicking to the door as if to confirm we're alone. Well, your case is just one of several questionable Miyatokiya conversions coming out of certain conflict zones. The same names keep appearing on the forms: insurance reps, middlemen, even some private contractors. And guess whose name shows up on multiple claims? My gut sinks. Adrian? Cassandra nods grimly. Adrian Clark at Global Shield Insurance is listed as the expediter on at least 4 claims I found so far. In each instance, the soldier involved was MIA, declared KIA with minimal evidence, and benefits were paid out quickly. My mind reels. So it's not just me. Looks that way, she says. Harriet's timeline for your situation strongly suggests he manipulated the process. Now it appears he may have done the same for other families, possibly for a cut of the payout. The realization stabs me like a cold knife. I thought I was the only one they targeted, but Adrian's using my damn watch or dog tags as some form of conclusive proof. Who knows how many times they've done that for others. Cassandra flips open the folder. I can't share every detail, it's classified data. But the pattern is there. Soldiers go missing in chaotic circumstances. Private contractors claim to find personal items. Adrian's name appears on expedited insurance forms. Families collect money, presumably sometimes unwittingly. Or maybe some spouses were in on it. We don't know. I rest my elbows on the table, burying my face in my hands for a moment. Those are real people, real families. Some might still be waiting for their loved ones. She sighs, compassion lacing her tone. I lost my brother to a roadside bomb. We had a body to bury. I can't imagine the torment these families go through not knowing for sure, and then maybe being misled. A flash of Liam's face crosses my mind. At least he gets to see me, talk to me, even if the circumstances are awful. Some families might never reunite, all because of scumbags like Adrian and whoever else is involved. Cassandra taps the folder again. Now, this is preliminary. I'm still trying to track who in the military administration signed off on these official forms. It might be a low-level contact or multiple people. Could Meredith's friend be part of that? I recall Harriet mentioning a friend of Meredith in military admin. She might have expedited the paperwork for them. Possibly, Cassandra says. We'll look into that angle. But keep in mind, we don't have a smoking gun yet, just a pattern. I nod, though my anger is mounting. Adrian always was ambitious. I just never dreamed he'd do something criminal, especially using me as a test case. Cassandra's gaze steadies on me. Your personal story is the key that might unravel this entire operation. I'll keep pushing from the JAG side, but we should expect resistance. If these guys are profiting from quick death payouts, they won't give up easily. My thoughts swirl. Memory of the harsh desert, bullet fire slicing the air, me clinging to life with the hope of seeing my family again. All the while, Adrian was using my MIA status for a payday. What should I do next? I ask, voice tight. Keep gathering evidence, Cassandra replies. Document everything. We'll need statements from neighbors like Harriet, any financial records you can get your hands on. If we find that Adrian or others tried to bribe or pressure officials, that'll strengthen the case. I think of Rob's ex-FBI background. I have a friend who can help dig deeper, maybe find leads on financial transactions. She nods. Go for it. The more we have to connect the dots, the better. Just be careful, don't confront Adrian directly about a broader conspiracy. We don't want him to go underground or start destroying records. I exhale. Hard to keep calm, but I'll try. Cassandra closes the folder with a soft snap. I know it's tough. You're dealing with betrayal from your wife, your best friend, plus the heartbreak of being declared dead. Just remember, to bring them down the right way, you need patience. A flicker of determination ignites inside me. I can handle that. Good. She stands, extending a hand. I'll be in touch as soon as I learn more. I shake her hand and exit the building, stepping into the crisp, late-afternoon sun. The day feels surreal, like a slow-motion film where everyone else goes about normal life while I unravel a twisted plot that tried to bury me alive. Back at the shelter, I fill Rob in on Cassandra's findings. His expression turns steely. Multiple cases, huh? That means Adrian's not just a jerk, he's a career con man. Looks that way, I agree. If he's done it before, he'll do it again. Rob rubs his chin. I might know a guy who can help with digital footprints, Daniel Hayes, a cybersecurity expert. We used to cross paths in some FBI circles. He's got a knack for tracking suspicious money trails. Let's do it, I say, exhaustion heavy in my voice. The deeper I dig, the uglier it gets. But I can't walk away now. He nods firmly. I'll reach out. Let him know we need discreet help. As Rob strides off to make a phone call, I sink onto the worn-out couch in the lounge. My thoughts spiral. Meredith's part in all this might have started with grief or confusion, but the more evidence we uncover, the more I see how willingly she played the game. She used my name, my sacrifice, to secure a comfortable life with Adrian. And in the process, they might have done the same to other soldiers, families in limbo, waiting on that dreaded call or letter. That idea churns my stomach. I can't fathom how people sleep at night after exploiting the worst pain a military family can endure. A couple of older vets pass by, murmuring greetings. I manage a tight nod. They don't know the full story, but I sense some of them suspect I'm caught in a nasty web. This shelter's filled with guys who faced horrors abroad, some lost limbs, others lost friends, and I apparently lost everything I thought I had at home. At least Harriet, Rob, and Cassandra are on my side. Now, if Daniel Hayes can crack open Adrian's financial records, we might prove beyond any doubt that he orchestrated multiple fraudulent death claims. My case is only the tip of it. I clench my fists, a wave of cold fury coursing through me. This isn't just about me anymore. If Adrian and Meredith are part of a bigger scheme, countless other families could be suffering, and I refuse to let them keep riding that gravy train. My phone buzzes a text from Cassandra. Stay safe. I'll update you soon. I stare at the message, letting it ground me. There's a new layer of purpose now. Yes, I want justice for myself and Liam. Yes, I want to see Meredith and Adrian held accountable, but I also want to protect any other soldier's family from the same gut-wrenching betrayal. Sighing, I stand up, shoulders tense. Maybe I'll walk around the block to clear my head. Because once we confirm how far Adrian's conspiracy goes, my entire next move will change. And right now, I'm not sure how I'll contain the rage simmering inside me when I finally confront him with all I know. One thing is certain. They tried to bury me with a phony death certificate and a pocket full of stolen money. But I came back, and I'm not about to let them bury anyone else. I've never been much for cloak and dagger stuff, but these days, I find myself skulking around Global Shield Insurance like I'm on a covert operation. The building is an imposing tower of mirrored glass, perched on a corner of downtown. Tall potted plants line the lobby, and a security desk greets every visitor. It's all very proper and corporate, hard to reconcile with the dirty business Adrian's allegedly pulling behind the scenes. I show up on a Friday morning dressed in rumpled jeans and a hoodie, a look that screams harmless vet. My hair's a bit unkempt, and I keep my posture slightly hunched, letting a subtle tremor work through my hand whenever someone glances my way. It's part of the facade. I'm the traumatized Marine, drifting around aimlessly, not a threat. Let them see me as broken. My official reason for being here is a short meeting with the Human Resources Department, some nonsense about clarifying my death benefits confusion, which Cassandra arranged. She said it'd be easier to gather on-the-ground observations if I had a legitimate reason to enter the building. After signing in, I'm escorted to a small HR cubicle. A flustered clerk half-heartedly apologizes for the mix-up in my status, stumbling over her words. I pretend to be too weary to argue, nodding politely. Meanwhile, I'm busy clocking everything around me, the layout, the nameplates, who's talking to whom. Adrian's office is said to be on the 12th floor. I have no plan to barge in, obviously, but I wonder if I can figure out which window belongs to him. Maybe there's a vantage point outside. A silly thought, but my instincts are firing Marine discipline, telling me to note every angle, every exit. After the HR meeting, I meander through the lobby, passing a glass-walled cafe area. I spot two employees at a corner table chatting over coffee, both wearing laminated badges. One of them mentions Clark in a low voice. My ears perk up, but I don't catch more. I decide not to push my luck. I'm trying to stay invisible. Still, the mention of his name sets my teeth on edge. The whole building hums with the monotony of a 9-to-5 world. People are rushing to meetings, tapping away at computers, gossiping near the vending machines. If only they knew a big part of their operation might be built on fraudulent insurance claims orchestrated by Adrian. I keep my cool, though. The last thing I need is to tip him off that I'm watching. That afternoon, I step outside, squinting in the sunlight. Across the street is a parking garage. Perfect vantage point. I head up the concrete ramps, the smell of exhaust and stale coffee lingering. On the 5th level, I lean against the safety rail, scanning the row of windows that reflect the sky. It's impossible to tell which one is Adrian's. Still, I watch employees stepping out for lunch, see black sedans with tinted windows pulling up to the curb. It's a slow burn, just as I planned. Gather intel, observe patterns. I'm about to head back to my car when I see him. Adrian, stepping out of the front doors wearing a crisp suit, phone to his ear. He looks confident in command. My pulse ticks up. He glances around, but I'm too far away for him to notice. His posture is relaxed, a slight smile tugging at his lips like a man who believes he has everything under control. Little does he know. I clamp down the urge to confront him here on the sidewalk. That would blow everything. Instead, I snap a discreet photo on my phone. Proof he's still operating in plain sight, presumably pulling more strings. Then he climbs into a sleek BMW, rolling away into traffic. I breathe out. Step 1 of my stakeout? Complete. I may not have gathered much, but every bit helps me understand his routine. If he's meeting suspicious contacts or leaving at odd hours, I'll know soon enough. Cassandra wants a pattern of movements, times, anomalies, anything she can use to press the legal side. Rob, with his ex-FBI instincts, recommended this approach. People reveal a lot in their daily schedule, he'd told me. You just gotta watch. So I plan to watch. Back at the veterans shelter, I shake off the day's tension and prepare to call Liam. I'm allowed brief phone calls on certain evenings, part of the current custody guidelines. My heart clenches, remembering how polite and distant he sounded last time, as if unsure how to address me now that Adrian has been in the picture so long. But I refuse to give up. I dial Meredith's number, an old routine that feels painfully foreign now. The phone rings. On the 3rd ring, Liam picks up. Hello? My throat goes tight. Hey, buddy, it's Dad. Silence for a beat. Then a tentative, hi, Dad. He sounds small, uncertain, yet the word Dad still gives me a spark of relief. I keep my voice light. How was school today? Still enjoying your new art class? He talks a little about drawing animals and painting with watercolors. I close my eyes, picturing him hunched over a messy art station, likely smearing color all over his little shirt. There's a moment where he almost laughs, and that sliver of familiarity cracks my heart open. I ask if he wants to hang out this weekend for my scheduled visitation time, maybe see a movie or go for ice cream. He hesitates. Mommy said we might be busy. My stomach sinks. Busy with what? I hear muffled voices in the background, Meredith's or maybe Adrian's. Liam's voice drops. I gotta go, Dad. Okay, buddy. I love you, I say quickly, but he's already hung up. I stare at the silent phone, anger mixing with sorrow. They're blocking me from my own son, or at least making him feel guilty for speaking to me. I recall the custody guidelines. I do have the legal right to see Liam on weekends. If they're already interfering, that's another piece of the puzzle I can document. Thanks to therapy sessions and mediation meetings, I've been stable and consistent. No outbursts or aggression. The courts should see that. Clenching my fist, I decide I won't let them sabotage my bond with Liam. If I have to play by the rules meticulously, I will. Let them show their cards first. Meanwhile, I'll continue collecting every detail. Stakeouts, schedules, finances. This is a war fought quietly, stealthily, in the shadows of an insurance office and a custody arrangement, but it's war nonetheless. Later, I jot down notes from the day Adrian's approximate lunch break time, the route he took, any patterns in the Global Shield building. It's tedious, but my Marine training taught me that success often lies in the details. Harriet helps too, texting me random tidbits she overhears. She's cautious around the neighborhood, but she's got eyes everywhere. Even Robert "Rob" Miller has a few ideas on how to approach the next phase. Tomorrow I might try a different angle, maybe wait until Adrian leaves for the evening and see if he meets someone for after-hours drinks or a suspicious rendezvous. The slow burn continues, and while part of me wants to tear down his facade right now, another part knows that patience is crucial. I put the notes away and slip under the shelter's threadbare blankets, mind spinning. Liam's hesitant voice lingers in my ears. If I can finish building this case exposing Adrian's web of lies, I'll do more than just reclaim my life. I'll protect Liam from a future built on deceit. And maybe I can ensure no other soldier is used as a pawn in Adrian's twisted game. The next week unfolds in slow, deliberate steps, as if I'm inching across a minefield. Each day, I orchestrate small tasks aimed at pulling my allies closer and quietly tightening the net around Adrian. It's not glamorous. A lot of phone calls, a lot of waiting in parked cars, a lot of coffee-fueled nights hunched over documents with a pen in hand. But I can feel momentum building. Cassandra Martin calls me early Monday morning, her voice crackling through my phone. I talked to my superiors. They're on board with an investigation, she says. They'll keep it unofficial for now, but it means I have the green light to probe deeper into the Marine Corps records that labeled you dead. I almost dropped my coffee. That's great, Cassandra. So they believe we have enough to suspect foul play. Believe might be strong, but they can't ignore how quickly your case was pushed through, especially after I showed them Harriet's log, the contradictory timelines, and the suspicious insurance forms. Next step, I need official statements from you and any witnesses who can vouch for your whereabouts during the so-called confirmation of your death. I nod, pacing outside the shelter. Count on me. Meanwhile, Rob Miller is tapping into old FBI connections, seeing if anyone has intel on financial crimes at Global Shield. One Wednesday afternoon, I meet him in a dingy diner at the edge of town. It's the kind of place that does $2 coffee refills and greasy cheeseburgers. We snag a booth near the back. Rob slides a folder across the table, face serious. You remember I mentioned my buddy, Daniel Hayes? He's a cybersecurity expert. Well, I got him the minimal info he needed: Adrian's name, Global Shield's public records. He ran a preliminary search. My stomach tightens. And? Rob opens the folder, revealing a stack of printed spreadsheets. Adrian is listed as the claims adjuster or liaison for multiple questionable payouts over the past year. Smaller amounts, big amounts doesn't matter. The claims got rushed through the system. That's not normal procedure, especially with military policies. I skim the pages, my pulse hammering. He's got a pattern of approving these death benefits at lightning speed. Exactly. Daniel thinks there's a network behind this. Adrian might be the front man, but there could be others inside the insurance company, or possibly outside contractors who feed him fake evidence. A swirl of anger and determination courses through me. So it's bigger than just me. This scumbag is profiting off multiple families' tragedies. Rob nods grimly. That's how it looks. Daniel wants more time to dig into shell companies. Some payouts get diverted to overseas accounts. If that's tied to Adrian, we'll have the missing puzzle piece. I blow out a breath, trying to steady my racing thoughts. Okay, so how do we use this? I guess we gather it all, hand it to Cassandra, and let the investigation blow wide open? Rob's gaze flickers. Careful, though. If we spook him too soon, he'll bury evidence. We have to coordinate with Cassandra, build a solid case, no holes. I tap the folder with 2 fingers. Right. I'll make sure Cassandra sees this ASAP. It's the web we suspected, and now we can put a spotlight on it. We part ways, and I feel a surge of grim satisfaction. Every piece of data ties Adrian closer to a criminal conspiracy. My personal betrayal might be the tip of the spear, but beneath it is a tangle of bigger crimes. That evening, Harriet stops by the veterans' shelter with a carefully organized stack of photos. She's compiled every image she snapped on her phone whenever she saw Adrian's car parked at my house, complete with date stamps. We spread them across a small table in the shelter's lounge, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I didn't realize I had so many, Harriet says, voice hushed with a mix of apology and pride. I was suspicious early on, but I guess I was nervous to speak out. I study each snapshot, some night shots with headlights gleaming, others in daylight with Adrian's smug face visible as he heads inside. They might prove how early he moved in with Meredith, I tell her. That's huge for establishing the timeline. She nods, wringing her hands. I only wish I'd approached you sooner. It's okay, I say gently. What matters is we have them now. Before she leaves, Harriet rummages in her purse and hands me a battered old photo of me and Liam from a neighborhood barbecue, back when he was maybe 3. I found this while cleaning. Thought you might want a reminder of happier times. I feel a lump in my throat as I accept it. My arm is around Liam, both of us grinning, his hair flopping over his forehead. It reminds me what I'm fighting for, why I endure this slow, methodical game instead of storming into Adrian's office with accusations. I swallow and thank her, carefully tucking the photo into my wallet. Over the next few days, I settle into a routine. Morning stakeouts near Global Shield, afternoon follow-ups with Cassandra, evening phone calls with Liam, when Meredith even lets him answer. The tension is wearing on me, but the clarity of my mission keeps me going. One morning, I do see something interesting while parked across from Adrian's building. Around 9 a.m., a black SUV pulls up. Out steps a tall man in a gray suit, glancing around furtively before entering. Adrian emerges about 5 minutes later, greets the man with a handshake that looks more like a hush-hush exchange of envelopes, though I can't confirm from this distance. They both disappear inside. I scribble the time and details in my notebook. Another piece of the puzzle. Maybe it's a normal business meeting, but my instincts say otherwise. A hush-hush vibe usually suggests something off-book. By Friday, my notes are piling up. It's time to share them with Cassandra so she can coordinate a plan. We arrange an evening meet at a small coffee shop near the base. The place is half empty, just a couple of college kids typing away on laptops. Cassandra sips her latte and flips through my scribbled entries. "You've been thorough," she remarks. "Better than some professional PIs." I manage a tired grin. "Marine training. Details save lives." She sets the papers down. "So we have suspicious visitors, quick claims, possible overseas accounts. And of course, Harriet's and Rob's evidence. I'll integrate all of it and see if we can push for a formal inquiry at Global Shield." "Any risk Adrian might catch wind?" I ask, anxious. She taps a pen on her notepad. "We're being careful. If he does get suspicious, we'll need to move faster." My jaw tightens. I can't let him slip away. I won't let him do this to more families. Cassandra's eyes flick with empathy. "We'll get him, Ethan. Just keep up the facade act like you're still reeling from the shock. Let them think you're no threat." I exhale. "All right, I'll keep playing the broken soldier." She nods, finishing her coffee. "I have a feeling we're closing in. Once we have enough, we can coordinate the next steps. A big piece of that will be not just legal action, but also shining a public light on their schemes. I think about the potential fallout. Meredith, Adrian, possibly others at the insurance company, even those local officials who played along. A wave of conflicting emotions churns in my gut: vengeance, heartbreak, determination. "Whatever it takes," I whisper. Cassandra gives a small, resolute nod. "Whatever it takes. I've faced enemy fire before, but nothing prepared me for the mental minefield of family court. A week after my meeting with Cassandra, I find myself in a cramped hearing room, fluorescent lights flickering overhead. There's a cheap carpet that does nothing to muffle the tension in the air. Meredith sits on the opposite side, wearing a carefully chosen blouse and pearls. Her expression is neutral, but I see the edge in her eyes. She's accompanied by a private attorney. Adrian's nowhere in sight, probably busy scamming more insurance claims. Liam isn't here either. The court doesn't want him involved in the tension. My own representation is a local lawyer volunteering through a veterans advocacy group. We're here because Meredith filed a motion claiming I'm unstable from combat trauma, seeking to reduce my visitation rights. My jaw clenches at the thought. She's obviously trying to paint me as a danger so she can keep Liam under her thumb and Adrian's. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair pulled back in a bun, flips through paperwork. "We're here to address Miss Harrington's concerns about Mr. Harrington's fitness for partial custody. Miss Harrington, you allege PTSD symptoms that threaten the child's well-being?" Meredith's lawyer stands. "Yes, Your Honor. My client states that Mr. Harrington has displayed erratic behavior since returning unexpectedly. There's also the matter of his living in a veterans shelter, which suggests he may not have stable housing or emotional support. A flick of annoyance crosses my face, but I keep it in check. My lawyer, a soft-spoken but firm woman named Dina, rises to respond. Your Honor, Mr. Harrington has complied fully with therapy recommendations and has stable accommodations at a recognized veterans facility. He's shown no violent or dangerous behaviors. In fact, he's actively pursuing legal remedies to clear up the confusion surrounding his declared death. The judge levels me with a direct gaze. Mr. Harrington, are you receiving professional therapy or counseling? I stand, hands at my sides to appear calm. Yes, Your Honor. I attend weekly sessions with a VA counselor. I also have support from a local group for returning veterans. I'm committed to providing a stable environment for my son, Liam. Meredith keeps her eyes on the desk. I can sense the tension rolling off her. She knows if the judge sees me as a stable, loving father, her attempts to freeze me out might fail. The judge asks a few more questions about my finances, living situation, and mental health. I answer each one steadily, citing references from the shelter and the counselor. My chest feels tight, but I maintain composure. This is exactly the approach Rob and Cassandra urged: show no rage, reveal no hostility, just reason and calm. Finally, the judge sighs, closing the file. There's insufficient evidence to modify the existing visitation schedule. Mr. Harrington, you retain your current rights for weekend visits and midweek calls. Should any new concerns arise, Miss Harrington may file again, but for now, the child's best interests are served by continued contact with both parents. A mixture of relief and anger surges through me. Relief that Meredith's attempt to limit my access failed. Anger that she even tried to block me. I catch a glimpse of her face. It's a storm of frustration. She says nothing, just gathers her things and leaves quickly with her lawyer. I stand there, letting the tension drain from my shoulders. The judge nods curtly and moves on to the next case. Dina pats my arm. That went as well as it could, Ethan. Thanks, I murmur. I appreciate your help. She offers a supportive smile. If Meredith continues to push these motions, we can counter with evidence of your consistent behavior. Just keep records of everything. Outside, the autumn breeze hits my face as I step down the courthouse steps. My phone buzzes a text from Harriet. Heard from Liam's teacher that he's excited for your weekend visit. Thought you'd like to know. I smile sadly, thankful for Harriet's watchful presence. Then I hop into my borrowed sedan and head back to the shelter, determined to keep my cool no matter what Meredith and Adrian throw at me. A few days later, the psychological warfare escalates in a more subtle way. Liam calls me, whispering into the phone. Daddy, Adrian said you're too busy being angry to spend time with me. That's not true, right? His voice trembles with confusion. My heart clenches. Of course it's not true, buddy. I'll always have time for you. I grit my teeth, picturing Adrian feeding him lies, but I keep my tone gentle. I'm looking forward to our weekend. We'll make it special. He sniffles and brightens a bit. Cool. Maybe we can paint more pictures together? Absolutely, I say, ignoring the lump in my throat. Meanwhile, Cassandra, Rob, and Harriet have been orchestrating small but potent strategic leaks. Cassandra calls it pressure by rumor, feeding bits of info to acquaintances at Global Shield, or floating official queries about Adrian's claims. The idea is to make him and Meredith paranoid, suspecting the walls are closing in. If they panic, they might slip up, providing us more ammunition. Harriet hears from a neighbor that Meredith's been tense, snapping at people who ask about me. Another friend reports Meredith's new anxiety about financial inquiries. Even the local car dealership where Adrian got his BMW sent a random letter to Harriet's niece, hinting at overdue payments. Little puzzle pieces suggesting money's tighter than they pretend. Rob confides in me over a late-night phone call. If Adrian senses trouble, he might shift funds or try to scrub evidence. That's why we need to keep the pressure slow and steady. The last thing we want is for him to vanish with everything. I pace the hallway outside my room, mind whirring. Agreed, but I don't want him cornered until we have enough to bury him legally. Rob's voice is firm. We'll get there. Daniel's still tracing offshore leads. Cassandra's got a lock on the chain of command that signed your death certificate. We just need a little more time. Time. That's the one thing that hurts me most time spent away from Liam. Time letting them manipulate my son. But I remind myself it's better to do this meticulously than blow up with raw anger. Every day I note a small victory. The court didn't take Liam away. Adrian's under quiet scrutiny. Harriet's collecting more photographic or anecdotal evidence. My life is hardly stable. I'm still in a shelter, still battling nightmares, but I feel a sense of forward motion. My alliances with Cassandra, Rob, Harriet, and even Daniel, whom I haven't met in person yet, give me a sense of purpose. Late one evening, I sink onto my cot in the shelter, flipping through a worn notepad. Lists of times, dates, suspicious transactions. This is my new normal, less a soldier's front line and more a detective's ledger. The steps are coming together, and I can sense we're nearing the point where we pull the trigger on something big. I close my eyes, imagining Liam's face, his shy grin when we paint side by side. He's the reason I do this. Not pure revenge, though that's part of it, but protecting my child and any other military families from Adrian's twisted game. I vow quietly to myself, I'll see this through. No matter how slow, how frustrating, I'll make them pay for what they've done. It's a brisk Saturday morning when I find myself in a dimly lit conference room that Rob managed to borrow from a local community center. The walls are beige, the folding chairs squeak, and there's a faint smell of instant coffee. It's hardly a glamorous war room, but it suits our clandestine purpose, forging the final plan against Meredith and Adrian. Gathered around a battered wooden table are my allies, Cassandra Martin in her crisp uniform, Rob Miller with his casual jacket and keen eyes, and Harriet Addison looking determined despite the tension. They greet me with solemn nods. "Thanks for making time," Cassandra says, opening a laptop in front of her. "I have updates." She taps a key, revealing a neat bullet point list on screen. Legal approach, media and public exposure, coordinated timing. I lean forward, heart pounding. This feels big, like the moment all our scattered pieces come together. Cassandra points to the first item. "Legally, we have enough to proceed with a formal complaint to the Department of Defense regarding your death status. We can also alert the FBI about suspicious insurance activity. However, we need the element of surprise. If we file everything at once, Adrian might scramble to destroy evidence." Rob chimes in, flipping through his notes. "Right. We were thinking we hit them on two fronts. Official legal action and a public reveal. Something that forces them into the spotlight so they can't quietly settle or vanish." Harriet, who's been quiet, clears her throat. "That's where the charity gala might come in, yes? The one Meredith and Adrian are planning something about fallen soldiers?" My jaw tightens. They have the gall to host a fundraiser for widows while profiting off false death benefits. It's disgusting. Cassandra nods. "Exactly. If we coordinate with local media and present the damning evidence at that event, they'll be blindsided. They won't have time to hide once the cameras roll and official investigators walk in." The thought of confronting them in front of a high society crowd sends a cold thrill through me. "So we aim to corner them at the gala?" "Precisely," Rob says. "We leak just enough to get law enforcement ready. Once Adrian is publicly exposed, they can serve arrest warrants, seize accounts, everything. And you," he nods at me, "you can personally reveal that you're very much alive, the soldier they declared dead for profit." A swirl of conflicting emotions hits me. Excitement at the prospect of justice, anger that it's come to this spectacle, and a flicker of fear. But I push the fear down. "I'm in," I say. "What about timing?" Cassandra brings up a calendar. "The gala is scheduled in about 3 weeks. That gives us a window to finalize the evidence, coordinate with the FBI, and ensure everything's watertight. I'll work on the legal paperwork so it can drop the same night." Harriet raises a hand anxiously. "Won't Meredith and Adrian suspect something?" Rob shrugs. "We're laying low, so they probably just think Ethan's still stuck in the veterans' shelter, trying to figure out custody. They won't expect a public ambush, especially since they've been controlling the narrative about Ethan's so-called mental instability." I clench my fists at the memory of the court hearing. They think they have the upper hand. Let's keep it that way. Cassandra leans forward. "We'll need specifics on how to present the evidence at the gala. I'm talking actual documents, bank statements, the timeline of your so-called funeral, Harriet's photos, everything. Once the cameras are rolling and officials step in, there'll be no going back." I meet her gaze steadily. I'm ready. Let them finally face the truth. We spend the next hour mapping out the plan in excruciating detail. Cassandra will coordinate the investigative authorities, ensuring they have sealed indictments ready to serve. Rob will handle the media leak, contacting an investigative reporter he trusts so the story doesn't get killed by corporate interests. Harriet volunteers to gather local community members who have suspicions, so the revelation hits even harder. When we finish, Harriet stands, shaking out the tension in her shoulders. "This is the bravest thing I've done in my life. I'm not sure I like it," she jokes weakly. I give her a small, reassuring smile. "You're helping more than you know. Without your notes, your photos, we might never have cracked this open." She ducks her head, cheeks pink. "Well, you deserve the truth, Ethan." After Harriet leaves, Cassandra and Rob linger. We go over a few final details. "We'll call it Operation Breakpoint," Cassandra says, half smiling at the dramatic name, "because that's where we push them past the point of no return." Rob snorts, and I manage a short chuckle. It feels good to share a light moment in the midst of all this darkness. But once they're gone, I'm left alone in the empty conference room, the overhead fluorescent tube buzzing faintly. I rub my temples. It's exhilarating to see a real blueprint for justice, but it's also terrifying. If something goes wrong, if Meredith and Adrian sniff this out ahead of time, everything could collapse, and they'd slip away with Liam still under their influence. The weight of fatherhood presses on me. I check my phone, a single text from Liam, typed out in awkward childlike grammar. "Dad, I want to do painting soon, PLZ." My eyes sting reading it. The reminder of how fleeting these visits have been. I can't let him down. Focus, I tell myself. 3 more weeks of patience and small steps. We'll gather more intel, tighten the circle, let Adrian and Meredith think I'm floundering. Meanwhile, Cassandra readies the legal bombs, Rob lines up the media angle, Harriet helps stir local curiosity. And I keep up the fatherly front, no aggression, no slips, no reason for them to suspect I'm orchestrating a grand takedown. This is what I was trained to do. Approach a mission methodically, waiting for the right moment to strike. Each day, I'll keep building my relationship with Liam, keep logging intel, keep up the facade. They declared me dead once. Let them believe I'm still dead inside, too emotionally wrecked to fight. Then, at the gala, they'll meet the real me. I pocket my phone and turn off the lights, stepping into the brisk evening air. The world feels sharper, clearer, like the lull before a thunderstorm. Everything is building to that single event, the high-profile charity gala for fallen soldiers. The irony is thick enough to choke on, but it's also perfect. They'll be so busy showing off their generosity, bragging about how they help veterans, that they won't see me until it's too late. As I walk to my car, I recall a phrase from my Marine days: "Move slowly, strike suddenly." That's what I'll do. 3 weeks to keep calm, gather the last fragments, and prepare for the confrontation that will not only unmask their fraud, but also bring me a step closer to reclaiming my life and my son's future. I grip the steering wheel, heart hammering with a dark, steely resolve. Operation Breakpoint. It's time to prove that the soldier they tried to bury is more alive and more dangerous than they ever imagined. I'm standing in the staff entrance of the Grand White Bridge Hotel, wearing black trousers and a crisp white shirt. It's the same place where tonight's lavish charity gala for fallen soldiers is about to commence. The irony isn't lost on me. Adrian and Meredith are co-hosting this event under the banner of supporting military widows and honoring sacrifice. The same people who tried to erase me with a fake death certificate are parading as philanthropic heroes. A rolling rack of catering uniforms lines the corridor, each bearing the hotel logo. I slip into a black vest and bow tie over my shirt, adopting the role of one of the hired waitstaff. This was all arranged by Rob Miller, who used an old FBI contact to get me onto the list of outside caterers. I even have a name tag that reads Ed. The managers don't question me. They're too harried with last-minute preparations. Taking a moment to center myself, I remind myself of the plan. Cassandra is positioned nearby with official documents. Daniel will be monitoring from his laptop, waiting for the moment to broadcast the final proof. Harriet is out front, mingling with local guests and neighbors. My job is to move unobtrusively through the ballroom, Note any final suspicious activity or last-minute changes, and ensure Meredith and Adrian don't slip away before the reveal. The hallway leads me into the expansive ballroom, where crystal chandeliers glitter overhead, hence the name I've been using in my head. Under the chandelier. Round tables are draped in white linen, place settings gleaming with polished silverware. An array of floral arrangements decorates the stage area, where a microphone stands ready for Adrian's big speech. A hush of excitement rolls through the staff. A swirl of tuxedos and evening gowns crosses my field of vision. Prominent community members are trickling in, exchanging polite greetings. I catch sight of a local TV crew setting up a small camera in the back corner. Apparently, they'll be doing a quick segment on the gala. Good public exposure is exactly what we need. I maneuver around, carrying an empty tray to blend in. My heart hammers in my chest. This is the moment we've been building toward. For weeks, I've pretended to be the broken soldier, the powerless father. But tonight, I'm stepping onto their stage with a plan. At the far side of the ballroom, a banner reading, "Honoring Our Heroes," is draped across the wall. I swallow down bitterness. If only the guests knew how many heroes Adrian has financially profited from, how many families he's manipulated for quick insurance payouts. Anger flares, but I wrestle it into something cold and steady. Suddenly, I spot a telltale figure. Meredith glides in, wearing a sleek, dark blue gown that probably cost more than my entire month's living expenses. Her posture is poised, a gracious hostess facade. Adrian walks beside her, dashing in a tailored suit, shaking hands with a local businessman. The two of them beam for cameras and guests. If I didn't know better, I'd think they were the perfect philanthropic couple. But I do know better. I keep my head slightly bowed, half turned away as they pass by. For a moment, I glimpse Meredith's face, studying the tightness around her eyes. She's wearing that forced smile I remember from years back when she wanted to hide stress. Adrian, however, looks confident, maybe even smug. He's in his element. Big stage, wealthy crowd, cameras rolling. Another caterer brushes past me. "Hey, Ed, can you help with the champagne?" he mumbles, barely making eye contact. This is good no one suspects me because chaos abounds. I nod, following him to a service table where glasses are lined up, waiting. As I fill flutes with bubbling liquid, I discreetly watch Adrian and Meredith greet more guests. Harriet hovers on the fringe, nodding politely but keeping an eye on them. I spot a new detail. A slender brunette woman at Meredith's elbow. She's introduced to people as some kind of PR specialist for the event. The woman scribbles on a clipboard, presumably tracking the program schedule. Probably not part of Adrian's bigger scheme, but it reminds me how carefully they've planned this event. They likely expect applause, donations, and a flurry of positive press. Not tonight, I think. Tonight, the applause will turn to outrage once the truth comes to light. At precisely 7:30, the event manager dims the lights to signal dinner service. The hush that falls over the crowd is almost reverent. Silverware clinks as main courses are delivered. I weave between tables with a tray of champagne, catching snatches of conversation about local politics, business deals, or heartfelt thanks for Adrian's charitable leadership. My jaw tightens. If these people only knew. While passing near the head table, I hear a snippet of Adrian's conversation with a city council member. "We're expecting a record-breaking donation tonight," Adrian says smoothly. "It's all about giving back to those who served." Meredith nods in agreement, batting her lashes for effect. The council member seems impressed. I grit my teeth, forcing a polite server's smile. In the back of my mind, I recall the intel we gathered. Multiple families declared widowed while their soldier was just missing. Adrian's well-documented push for expedited claims. The memory of how easily he replaced me in my own home still stings like a fresh wound. Once the main course is cleared, I notice the program indicates a keynote address from Adrian. That's my cue. I slip away from the center of activity, ducking behind a tall partition that leads to a small backstage area. Cassandra stands there in plain clothes, a visitor badge pinned to her jacket, holding a slim folder that bulges with documents. She glances at me. "You ready?" I nod, swallowing. Ready as I'll ever be. "Is Daniel in position?" "Yes," she says. "He's in a nearby hotel suite with his laptop. The feed is set to broadcast the evidence on a display screen here. Once Adrian starts speaking, I'll text Daniel the exact moment. Her voice is calm but laced with tension. We both know what's at stake. I let out a breath, running a hand over my short hair. This is it. Cassandra's gaze is steady. They won't see it coming. At the front of the ballroom, the event manager steps on stage to polite applause, announcing the night's highlight. A word from the man who made this gala possible, Mr. Adrian Clark. The lights intensify around the stage, and Adrian strides forward, a proud smile on his face. My stomach twists. The final act is about to begin. I slide out from behind the partition, sticking to the sidelines where staff usually stand. Harriet is near the media corner, exchanging tense looks with me. Rob is presumably waiting outside with official agents, ready to swoop in once the reveal happens. Everything hinges on timing. Adrian taps the microphone, beaming at the audience. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for supporting our mission to honor the brave men and women who gave everything for our freedom. His voice echoes, dripping with false sincerity. My grip tightens on the edge of a curtain. I can't wait to step forward, to see his face when he realizes I'm very much alive and about to tear down every lie he's built. I stand at the ballroom's edge, heart pounding like a distant drum. Adrian's smooth voice carries across the room as he addresses the well-dressed crowd. I sense a hush in the air, the collective attention riveted on the man of the hour. Cameras flash, reporters scribble notes, and wealthy donors prepare their checkbooks. My own experiences with military families, Adrian is saying, led me to realize how vital our support can be. We must never forget those who've made the ultimate sacrifice. He casts a somber look over the audience, pausing to let the gravity sink in. If I didn't know the truth, I might be taken in by his polished sincerity. Meredith stands off to one side of the stage, smiling as though she's proud of him. She's wearing that dark blue gown, the one that highlights how seamlessly she fits into this upscale scene. For a split second, I recall how we used to dream of attending fancy events as a couple back when she was my wife and we were building a normal life. But that was before she conspired with Adrian to cash out my death benefits. I swallow back the bitterness. Focus, I remind myself. The plan calls for me to interrupt at just the right moment, stepping forward in uniform. Once Adrian's speech hits its climax, Cassandra will signal Daniel to broadcast the compiled evidence. Then Rob, waiting in the wings with law enforcement, will make the final move. It has to be coordinated, or we risk giving Adrian a chance to squirm away. I slip out of my caterer's vest, retrieving my folded marine dress uniform jacket from a discreet corner behind the stage. My hands shake slightly as I button it over my white shirt. The stripes, the medals, these all carry the weight of real sacrifice, of men I served with who didn't make it home. For a second, I close my eyes, remembering the dust and heat of that ambush overseas. I was lucky to survive. Adrian used that horrific event to declare me dead. No more waiting. The hush in the crowd deepens as Adrian says, "Tonight we gather in memory of those we lost, and we vow to support the families they left behind." My own involvement with a local soldier's family has shown me the importance of stepping in when tragedy strikes. I feel my pulse spike. He's referencing me indirectly, the local soldier he pretended to mourn. The hypocrisy makes my skin crawl. Offstage, Cassandra catches my eye. She gives a small nod, hand poised over her phone. That's my cue. I straighten my uniform's lapels, step forward, and round the corner to the stage steps. Adrian continues. "So please, open your hearts and your wallets to ensure we never abandon the widows and children of our fallen heroes." He flashes a winning smile. That's when I climb onto the stage. For a moment, no one notices I'm just a figure in the background. Then a few heads turn. I hear gasps ripple through the front row. Meredith's smile falters, her eyes widening in shock. Adrian sees their reactions before he actually sees me, confusion scrunching his brow. I come to a stop a few feet behind him, spine straight, dress uniform gleaming under the spotlights. The hush grows deafening. Adrian whips around, his microphone slipping in his grip. He stares at me, as if seeing a ghost. In a way, he once declared me dead after all. I raise my chin, letting the crowd take in my presence. "Good evening," I say, voice steady though adrenaline surges in my veins. I'm Sergeant Ethan Harrington of the United States Marine Corps. A collective gasp erupts from the audience. Cameras flash wildly. Meredith's face goes pale, and I see her sway on her feet. Adrian's expression flickers between disbelief and terror. He scrambles for composure, but he's lost the room. People begin to murmur, shifting uncomfortably at the realization that the fallen soldier Adrian extolled is standing right here. I clear my throat, meeting Adrian's eyes. You may remember me. You held a funeral in my honor, collected my death benefits, and told everyone I was gone. Turns out, I'm very much alive. Whispers explode among the guests. The local TV crew pivots their camera, focusing on me. I can almost feel the confusion and suspicion spiking in the air. This is the moment we planned for, the unmasking. Off stage, Cassandra triggers something on her phone, Daniel's signal. The large projector screen behind us suddenly lights up, showing a stark timeline of my supposed death, the date stamps of Adrian's expedited insurance claims, and bank statements under shell company names. One by one, images flash. Harriet's photos of Adrian sneaking into my house before I was declared dead, receipts of suspicious transactions, official documents with Adrian's signature and conclusive proof of my demise. The audience reaction is immediate. Angry mutters, shocked exclamations, cameras clicking in rapid fire. Adrian whips around to face the screen, his microphone trembling in hand. This is nonsense, he sputters, voice cracking. Some kind of misunderstanding. I step forward, eyes locked on him. No misunderstanding. You used my MIA status for personal gain, declared me dead, and took money meant for fallen soldiers' families. I gesture at the screen. And you didn't stop with me. You've been doing this for multiple families, forging evidence to fast-track payouts. Meredith stumbles closer, face drained of color. She tries to speak, but her voice catches. The crowd shifts, giving her a wide berth as if she's contagious. She glances at Adrian, silently begging him to do something. Adrian tries to regain control, turning to the crowd with forced bravado. People, please, someone has hacked our presentation. This is not real. Cassandra steps forward from the audience, brandishing a folder. It is real. I'm Lieutenant Cassandra Martin with the JAG Corps. We have cross-verified these documents with the Department of Defense and the VA. Everything you see is authentic. A murmur runs through the guests. Cameras zoom in on Adrian's stricken expression. He looks cornered, scanning the exit routes. The screen behind him continues flipping through damning evidence excerpts of emails, suspicious insurance receipts. It's a horrifying highlight reel of his fraud. Meredith tries to grab Adrian's arm. Adrian, she whispers, shaking. What do we do? He yanks away, microphone squealing with feedback. This is a setup, he snarls, sweat beading on his brow. They're out to ruin me. I hold my ground. Ruin you? You ruined the lives of countless soldiers' families, including mine. Did you think I'd let that stand? Another wave of chatter surges in the crowd. Many guests are already retreating from the stage area, horror etched on their faces. A woman in the front row mutters, "My God, I donated thousands to his cause." The local TV reporter steps forward, microphone raised, clearly wanting a statement. Adrian's eyes dart to the side exit. But before he can move, Harriet steps into the aisle, camera phone in hand, blocking his path. She records every second, tears glistening but her face set in determination. I pivot to the audience. You all deserve the truth. Adrian Clark has systematically defrauded multiple families under the guise of supporting fallen soldiers. He declared me dead while I was fighting to survive overseas, took my benefits, and lied to my son. My voice cracks. He betrayed the very people he claimed to help. For the first time since I stepped on stage, Adrian is silent. Shock, panic, and raw fear war behind his eyes. Slowly, the illusion of the philanthropic hero dissolves under the weight of undeniable evidence. The energy in the ballroom thickens. People are outraged, demanding answers. Flashbulbs pop, capturing every angle of Adrian's downfall. This is it. The unmasking, the moment we prepared for. And from the corner of my eye, I see Movement Rob entering with official-looking men in suits, his face grim. The final piece is about to slide into place. Adrian drops the microphone with a metallic thud that reverberates through the hushed ballroom. He stares at Rob and the approaching men in suits clearly law enforcement like a cornered animal. His lips tremble, and for a second, I see the primal fear shining in his eyes. Meredith clutches the edge of a podium, her gaze darting around the room. She's scanning for an escape route or maybe a sympathetic face, but the audience is transfixed by the onslaught of evidence projected on the big screen. Document after document reveals the timeline of her involvement, too. There's no crowd left to champion her or Adrian. Rob steps forward first, voice calm. Mr. Clark, these agents are from the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Financial Crimes Unit. They have a warrant for your arrest on multiple counts of insurance fraud and conspiracy. Adrian's shoulders slump, but he forces out a shaky laugh. This is a smear campaign. You can't prove anything. All these documents fabricated. One of the agents, a tall woman with a firm jaw, steps up. Sir, we can prove them authentic. You need to step away from the stage. She pulls out a pair of handcuffs. The audience collectively inhales at the sight, phones flashing as they record the takedown. Meredith watches with wide eyes. She looks at Adrian, sees the cuffs, and panics. This is insane. He told me you were dead. She points at me, voice rising hysterically. I didn't know anything. I thought he was helping me. Her words tumble out, a mix of denial and desperate attempts at self-preservation. I clench my fists, fighting the temptation to yell back. Instead, I keep my voice level. You held a funeral without a body. You spent my death benefits on vacations. You let my son call him Daddy Adrian. Don't pretend you're innocent. She pales, tears streaking her mascara. He said. Her throat bobs, words failing her. The FBI agent nods to another officer who steps toward Meredith. She tries to back away, but Harriet blocks her path. Harriet's phone is still recording, her expression resolute. Don't let her slip out, Harriet murmurs quietly to a couple of onlookers. They close ranks, ensuring Meredith can't flee. Meanwhile, Adrian wrests himself free from the agent's attempt to cuff him. He lunges for the side exit, but Rob intercepts him with surprising speed. There's a brief scuffle. Adrian's elbow catches Rob in the ribs. Rob grunts but manages to grab Adrian's arm. The agent closes in, snapping the cuffs around Adrian's wrists. His face twists in agony as he realizes he's truly trapped. Stay back! An officer barks, keeping the crowd away. The cameras zoom in, capturing the once-a-grand host subdued by law enforcement. The aura of wealth and philanthropy has vanished, replaced by raw desperation. I step closer, ignoring the cameras pointed our way. This is the confrontation I've imagined for so long. Adrian stands panting, wrists cuffed behind him, eyes blazing. Ethan, he spits. If you do this, you'll regret it. An ugly laugh escapes me. Regret it? I already regret trusting you. I regret letting you anywhere near my family. My voice trembles with emotion. But I don't regret exposing what you've done. Adrian opens his mouth for a retort, but the agent pushes him to move. He resists, turning his glare on Meredith. You told me we could keep everything quiet, he hisses. Look how that turned out. She flinches, tears still streaming. They lock eyes, accusations passing silently between them, each blaming the other. Liam's perspective flickers across my mind, and I scan the crowd. Sure enough, Harriet stands with a smaller figure tucked behind her Liam. My heart skips. We planned for him to come with Harriet, but we hoped he wouldn't witness the full chaos. Now, though, he's peering around Harriet's waist, eyes huge and startled. I push through the onlookers, kneeling to his level. Harriet steps aside, letting me wrap an arm around Liam's shoulders. His voice is barely above a whisper. Daddy, what's happening? My throat tightens. It's okay, buddy. Adrian and Mommy did something very wrong. The police have to talk to them. I wish I could shield him from the sight of his mother's tears, from seeing Adrian in handcuffs. But it's already out in the open. Harriet gently rubs Liam's back, murmuring soothing words. On stage, Meredith starts sobbing uncontrollably, shouting that she didn't mean for this to go so far. One of the officers tells her to calm down. She looks wildly at me. Ethan, please, I didn't know. But her pleas tangle in the cacophony of voices, overshadowed by the agent reciting her rights. She's being detained for questioning, if not outright arrested. The crowd is a swirl of shock and confusion. High society donors recoil in disgust. A handful try to approach me, asking for clarity, but Harriet and Rob wave them back. The TV crew tries to push forward, microphone extended, shouting questions about how Adrian pulled this off, whether the soldier in question me can confirm the fraud. The FBI tells them to stand down. It's chaos. I clutch Liam tighter. He's trembling, tears gathering in his eyes. I smooth a hand over his hair, my own heart aching. It's gonna be all right, I tell him, though the words feel heavy. Emotional confrontation is right here, swirling around me. Years of betrayal collapse in these final seconds. Meredith's sobs, Adrian's curses, the flash of cameras capturing their downfall. My mind replays every night I spent in a veterans shelter, every court hearing, every stakeout. All of it led to this very public reckoning. Adrian's voice breaks through the noise. You could have let us settle it quietly, he snaps at me as the agent drags him past. But you had to grandstand. I meet his furious gaze. No more lies in the shadows, I say, voice low. Our quiet settlement died the day you declared me dead. An agent hustles him away, his fancy suit rumpled, hair disheveled. It's a far cry from the suave man who took the stage an hour ago. Meredith soon follows, escorted by another officer. Her mascara streaks black rivers down her cheeks. Even now she tries to say something to me, but the words are lost in the roar of the onlookers. I watch them vanish into the corridor, the doors swinging shut behind. A hush descends, thick with the realization that the star hosts of the gala have been publicly exposed and detained. The big screen still flashes incriminating data, but Cassandra quickly kills the feed, stepping to the microphone to quell the chaos. She addresses the crowd with a firm yet courteous explanation. The event is concluding and investigators will handle the rest. I return my attention to Liam kneeling again. He's trembling, tears sliding down his cheeks. "Daddy, I'm scared," he whispers, voice hitching. I feel a surge of guilt for involving him, even peripherally. Harriet places a comforting hand on his shoulder, her own eyes moist with sympathy. "Hey, buddy," I say softly. "We're safe. No one's going to hurt you. Adrian and Mommy, they just made bad choices. Now they have to face the consequences." He presses his face against my chest, seeking refuge. I wrap my arms around him, ignoring the stares of the remaining guests. The swirl of heartbreak and relief inside me is overwhelming. After all this time, my betrayers are finally exposed, but I can't ignore the raw ache that comes with seeing Meredith, the mother of my child, led away in tears. A TV reporter tries to get close, camera operator in tow, but Harriet shoos them back. Rob steps in front of them, arms crossed, ensuring they stay away from me and Liam. Slowly, onlookers disperse. Some leave in silence, others chatter furiously about the scandal. The hush that follows is almost deafening. In that hush, I cradle Liam, whispering soft reassurances. The weight of everything hits me. The war I fought, coming home to find my life stolen, the slow plan for revenge, and now the public humiliation of the two people I once trusted most. Yes, I wanted justice. Yes, they deserved this. But the heartbreak is real. My family, or what was left of it, just imploded in front of half the city. Still, I cling to one certainty. My son is in my arms and the truth is out. There's no more shadowy scheme, no more living under illusions. The downfall is here. The echoes of police sirens fade into the distance, and the once glittering ballroom now feels like an empty movie set, left behind after the final scene. Whitebridge hotel staff hurry about, collecting half-finished plates and abandoned drinks. A few bystanders linger, talking in hushed tones. The overhead lights, once so radiant, seem harsher now, illuminating the grim aftermath of the evening's spectacle. I stand near a corner table, Liam's small hand clasped in mine. He's exhausted, his cheeks streaked with tears. Harriet stands beside us, gently smoothing his hair. Behind her, Cassandra confers quietly with a couple of law enforcement officers, exchanging final details. I can't help noticing the stares directed our way. People see me in my Marine dress uniform, see the child at my side, and they realize we're at the heart of the scandal that just rocked this gala. My mind swims with conflicting emotions. Satisfaction that Adrian and Meredith have been taken into custody, heartbreak over the fact that it had to happen in such a public, painful way, and relief, yes, relief that the truth is out there, I no longer have to hide in the shadows. Harriet stoops to Liam's level, offering a wobbly smile. "You did so well, sweetie," she says softly. "This was a grown-up mess. I'm sorry you had to see it." Liam just nods, clinging to my leg, fatigue pulling at his eyelids. Relief and rage swirl in me like two opposing storms. I'm relieved that my plan worked, that the guests witnessed Adrian's lies unravel. No more illusions. But a smoldering rage simmers at the core rage that my wife and best friend forced me into this scenario at all, that they manipulated Liam's life so callously. I breathe slowly, controlling that anger, reminding myself that they're out of reach now, escorted away to face the consequences. Cassandra finishes her discussion with the officers and walks over. There's a sympathetic gravity in her eyes. They'll book Adrian for insurance fraud and conspiracy at the station. Meredith's involvement is still being assessed, but the evidence is overwhelming. I nod, swallowing the lump in my throat. "So it's over?" She hesitates. "The public unveiling is over, yes. But the legal process will take time. Tonight was just the takedown." She glances at Liam with a gentle expression. "We'll handle everything carefully, especially considering his well-being." "Thank you," I say, voice tight. "For everything." A flicker of understanding crosses her face. "Go home, Ethan. Take care of your son. We'll sort out the rest in the coming days." I attempt a nod, but the term home stings. My official address has been a veteran's shelter or a borrowed room for weeks, and now I'm not sure what home even means. Glancing at Liam's worn-out face, I vow to create something stable for him, whatever it takes. Harriet offers to drive us. We exit the hotel through a side entrance to avoid the press still milling around out front. The parking lot is eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos inside. Harriet helps Liam into her back seat, and he promptly leans against the window, half asleep. I slide in beside him. As she starts the car, Harriet lets out a shaky sigh. "It's done," she murmurs, as if convincing herself. "I never thought I'd see Adrian in cuffs like that. Or Meredith." She glances at me in the rear-view mirror. "Are you okay?" I look down at Liam, who's nodding off against my shoulder. My mind replays Meredith's tear-streaked face, Adrian's rage, the silent condemnation from the crowd. "I'm okay," I manage quietly. "Just a lot to process." She nods. "I understand. But you did what needed to be done for Liam's sake and for all the other families Adrian defrauded." I reach out to squeeze her shoulder from behind the seat. "Thanks. You've been braver than I ever expected." A sad smile touches her lips as she pulls out of the lot. "You too, Ethan. You too." Once we reach Harriet's neighborhood, the adrenaline that kept me upright starts to fade. Exhaustion seeps in. She offers her spare bedroom, but I gently decline. Liam might be disoriented, waking up somewhere unfamiliar. We settle for Harriet's living room couch, where I lay Liam down. I drape a blanket over him, his small form curled up in fitful sleep. Harriet retreats to make tea in the kitchen, giving me a moment alone. I lower myself onto the edge of the couch, brushing hair from Liam's forehead. My son. The reason I refused to let Adrian and Meredith keep living that lie. The reason I orchestrated this entire confrontation. My chest tightens with both love and heartbreak. In the dim lamplight, I allow myself a few raw tears. The gravity of the night's events crashes over me. I just destroyed the illusions of a high society gala, watched my ex-wife, effectively taken away, and confronted the man who was once my best friend. It's a victory, but not a joyful one. It feels like stepping through a battlefield after the dust settles, relieved to have survived, but horrified by the damage. A soft click signals Harriet returning with 2 mugs of tea. She hands me one, compassion in her eyes. "They're going to ask you to testify about everything," she says quietly. "But you already knew that." I nod, sipping the hot liquid that scalds my tongue but soothes my nerves. "Yeah, I'm prepared. I just want it all behind me." A brief, rueful laugh escapes. "And I want Liam to never have to witness something like this again." She glances at his sleeping form. "He'll need reassurance, therapy maybe. Seeing his mother arrested, it's traumatic." My heart clenches. "I'll do whatever it takes to help him heal." She pats my shoulder gently. "We'll figure it out. You're not alone." Foreshadowing flickers in my mind, the upcoming legal battles, ensuring custody for Liam, dealing with the financial fallout of everything Adrian stole, but I don't want to dwell on tomorrow just yet. Tonight was the final unveiling, the meltdown of their false kingdom. The crowns they wore Adrian as a philanthropic hero, Meredith as a grieving widow, are shattered. I drain the last of the tea, setting the mug aside. My ears still ring with the memory of cameras clicking, with the hotel staff hustling around, with Adrian's voice as he tried to declare it all a smear campaign. I recall Meredith's sobs, her face a portrait of regret, betrayal, or both. The heartbreak I feel is overshadowed by relief that Liam is finally free from their manipulations. Glancing at Liam again, I vow silently, I'll guide him through whatever comes next. I'll stand by him no matter what. Harriet sees the look on my face and offers a small nod of encouragement. She understands that the hardest part might still lie ahead, rebuilding a life from the wreckage they caused. But for now, at least, the weight of secrecy has lifted. The confrontation is done. The truth stands bare. We did it, I whisper, more to myself than anyone. Harriet squeezes my hand in silent affirmation. The lamp casts warm, flickering shadows on the walls, cocooning us in a moment of calm after the storm. Liam's breathing steadies, each exhale a reminder that he's safe, and I am still here, alive and fighting for what's right. The betrayal that once suffocated me is exposed for all to see. Tomorrow I'll face the aftermath, the swirl of legalities, the emotional fallout for Liam, the complicated knot of my own feelings. But tonight, as Harriet carefully turns out the light, I let the darkness ease in, pulling me toward a restless sleep. My mind drifts, replaying the image of Adrian in cuffs, Meredith weeping, and the defiant knowledge that, at last, my name is cleared. I'm no longer the dead soldier they claimed I was. In the hush of Harriet's living room, I feel something unexpected, the faint stirrings of hope. I've never been so anxious about what happens in a room filled with wooden benches and a strict dress code, but stepping into federal court feels like entering another combat zone. The high ceilings and echoing footsteps only amplify the tension. All eyes seem to flick in my direction as I walk with a measured pace toward the front, where my lawyer Dina, a calm, capable woman with the Veterans Advocacy Group, waits at a polished table. Across the aisle, Adrian sits with his own legal team, wearing a suit that looks a size too big now, maybe from weight lost under stress. A few seats down, Meredith hunches beside a public defender, glancing everywhere but at me. I try not to let my emotions pull me under. This is the fraud trial we've all been bracing for since the night of the gala takedown. The seats behind them are dotted with spectators, reporters, and a scattering of curious onlookers. I catch sight of Harriet in the gallery, her expression equal parts determined and worried. Rob stands further back, arms crossed, posture protective. The courtroom hushes when the judge enters. She's a tall woman in her 60s, hair pulled into a severe bun, eyes keen with experience. "Please be seated," she says, voice firm. Paper rustles as everyone obeys. My heart thuds like artillery in my ears. The opening statements kick off. The prosecution outlines how Adrian systematically exploited military insurance protocols, forging documents and expediting payouts through false death claims. They paint a picture of greed hidden behind a charitable facade. My name comes up often, Ethan Harrington, the soldier declared dead so his best friend and wife could profit. Tension coils in my gut every time they mention how Liam was told I was gone. Adrian's defense attorney tries to argue this is all a misunderstanding. He claims there was confusion about my MIA status, and that Adrian was only helping distraught families navigate the bureaucracy. It's the same tune we heard at the gala, but it sounds hollow in this formal setting. I can see the judge's disapproval in the set of her mouth. Meredith's lawyer is more subdued. They present her as a manipulated spouse who believed her husband was truly dead. I feel a flicker of rage, remembering how she spent my death benefits on vacations and let Liam call Adrian daddy. But I hold my composure. This is about evidence, not emotion. One by one, witnesses take the stand. Harriet walks up timidly but speaks with a resolve that moves me. She recounts the suspicious late-night visits, the way Adrian and Meredith seemed to have a relationship before I was officially declared dead. She chokes up when describing the funeral with no body. The court listens intently, some members of the jury eyeing Adrian with unconcealed disbelief. Next comes Rob, ex-FBI agent turned volunteer, who testifies about the background checks, the financial anomalies he spotted, and the tip-offs he provided to the official investigators. His voice is calm, authoritative. He lays out the facts like a professional. Adrian glares at him with barely concealed contempt, but Rob doesn't waver. Midway through the second day, Daniel Hayes is sworn in. He's a quiet, tech-savvy man in his 30s, hair neat, wearing wire-rimmed glasses. He explains the digital forensics, how he tracked payments from Global Shield Insurance to various offshore accounts linked back to Adrian, including the transactions that coincided with the time I was declared KIA. The jurors pay close attention. Daniel's evidence is black and white, lines on a spreadsheet that paint a damning picture. Finally, they call me to the stand. My stomach does a little flip as I rise and walk under the judge's scrutiny. I place my hand on a Bible, swearing to tell the truth. Then I settle into the witness chair, heart pounding. The prosecutor begins gently, having me confirm my military service details. Then she asks about the ambush that led to my MIA status. My voice trembles as I describe the firefight, the dust and heat, and how I clung to survival in a field hospital. A hush fills the courtroom. It's like they can sense the raw memory behind my words. She shifts to the aftermath. When did you learn you were declared dead, Sergeant Harrington? I swallow. Shortly after returning stateside, I discovered that my own death certificate had been filed, and my insurance benefits had been claimed by my wife and Adrian. The bitterness bleeds into my voice. The prosecutor asks about Liam, how I felt discovering he was told I was gone forever. My throat tightens. I describe the heartbreak of seeing my son calling another man Daddy, the confusion in his eyes when I showed up alive. Some members of the jury blink away tears. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but the truth is heavy. When the defense cross-examines, Adrian's attorney tries to rattle me, suggesting I disappeared or was unreliable due to PTSD. I keep my temper reined in, calmly stating I was in a hospital, that the military bureaucracy was slow, and that no one had the right to declare me dead without conclusive evidence. I sense the jury's sympathy remains with me. They see through the defense's attempts to paint me as unstable. By the end of my testimony, the room feels emotionally charged. I step down, nerves buzzing. On the defense side, Adrian and Meredith look increasingly desperate. Adrian slumps in his seat, jaw clenched. Finally, the prosecution rests. The trial moves swiftly. There's not much the defense can argue against mountains of digital proof and eyewitness accounts. When closing arguments roll around, the prosecutor emphasizes that Adrian abused the trust of the insurance system, exploited military families, and faked death certificates for personal gain. Meredith's role is painted as complicit at best at worst, an active participant after the initial shock wore off. The judge calls a recess before the jury deliberation. I wander into the hallway, Harriet at my side. She squeezes my hand. "You did well up there," she murmurs. "I'm proud of you." "Thank you," I say, my breath shaky. I look over to see Cassandra leaning against a wall, arms folded. She gives me a small nod, the steely determination in her eyes softening for a moment. We're close now to a verdict. Later that day, the jury files back in. My pulse hammers as the foreman announces they've reached a decision. The entire room waits, hushed. The foreman clears his throat. In the matter of Adrian Clark on the charges of insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and falsification of federal documents, we find the defendant guilty on all counts. A ripple of reaction moves through the crowd. He continues, "In the matter of Meredith Harrington, we find the defendant guilty of conspiracy and fraud, with lesser involvement than Mr. Clark." More gasps. Meredith chokes back a sob. They're both guilty. The judge thanks the jury and schedules a later date for sentencing. The bailiffs move in. Adrian's eyes dart around wildly while Meredith wilts in her seat. I feel a sudden surge of relief, mixed with heartbreak that my family came to this. As I step out of the courtroom, Harriet is there, tears glimmering in her eyes. Rob stands beside her, nodding in grim satisfaction. Cassandra approaches me, placing a hand on my shoulder. "This is a big step. The sentencing is next and then the custody rulings." "But you did it." I exhale shakily. "I didn't do it alone. Thank you all." The legal battle isn't fully over, but the fraud trial is decided. My betrayers have been unmasked in the eyes of the law, and for the first time in many months I feel lighter, like a shadow has lifted from my chest. Liam's future is no longer overshadowed by their lies. It's a crisp morning when I walk into the family courthouse for what might be the most pivotal hearing of my life, the custody dispute over Liam. Even though Adrian and Meredith have been found guilty of fraud, the legal system requires a separate proceeding to determine parental rights. And since Meredith is Liam's mother, the court won't automatically strip her of custody without a formal hearing. My lawyer, Dina, stands ready by my side again, her manner calm and reassuring. We file into a smaller courtroom than the one used for the fraud trial here. The atmosphere is more personal, less crowded. There's still a judge, but only a few observers. Harriet and Rob are perched quietly on a bench. Cassandra isn't present this time. Her JAG role is less relevant in family court, though she did help me compile supportive documents. Meredith arrives with a different attorney, a court-appointed one. She looks pale, her clothes slightly baggy, as if the stress has worn her down. She avoids my gaze, focusing on a folder in her hands. There's no Adrian. He's in custody awaiting sentencing. The judge, an older man with kind but tired eyes, starts by reviewing the background. He acknowledges that Meredith's involvement in the insurance fraud has been proven. He also references the earlier attempts she made to block my visitation under claims of PTSD. The judge flips through pages, pausing occasionally to adjust his reading glasses. Dina stands to present my case. I've been stable, holding to all visitation guidelines, and am actively seeking a suitable home environment for Liam. She highlights how I've started therapy to address lingering war trauma, and how Harriet, Rob, and even my VA counselor vouch for my positive parenting steps. Most importantly, she points out Meredith's gross misconduct in letting Liam believe I was dead, an act that caused emotional harm. Meredith's lawyer tries to counter that she was manipulated by Adrian. They claim she's willing to undergo parenting classes, therapy, anything to maintain some custody of Liam. There's a faint tremble in her voice when she speaks, and for a moment, I sense genuine remorse. But then I recall the lavish spending of my death benefits, her decision to conceal the truth from Liam, and it's hard to summon sympathy. Finally, the judge calls me to speak about my intentions for Liam's upbringing. Heart-pounding, I stand, meeting his steady gaze. I explain how Liam is my priority, how I've fought through heartbreak and betrayal to ensure he's safe and stable. I emphasize that I'm not trying to erase Meredith from his life, but I need primary custody to protect him from further manipulation or confusion. The judge's face is inscrutable, but he nods thoughtfully. Then Meredith has her chance. She rises, tears brimming. I never meant to hurt Liam, she says. When Ethan was declared dead, I was lost. Adrian convinced me it was final. Yes, I spent the benefits, but I was grieving, confused, then things spiraled. She looks at me briefly, voice cracking. I'm sorry, Ethan. I know I can't fix what I did, but please don't take our son away. I love him. The tension in the room thickens. Harriet's eyes flick from Meredith to me, sympathy mingling with anger. Rob just exhales quietly. As much as I despise what Meredith did, a small part of me recalls the woman I once married, who used to dream with me about our family's future. After a brief recess, we reconvene for the judge's decision. My pulse thunders. The judge folds his hands and clears his throat. Given the mother's criminal involvement in a scheme that directly harmed both Sergeant Harrington and the child, and the father's proven stability in caring for Liam, I find that awarding primary custody to Ethan Harrington is in the child's best interest. My breath catches, relief flooding in. The judge continues. However, the court recognizes a child's need for maternal contact. Supervised visitation for Miss T. Harrington may be considered once she's completed court-mandated counseling and abides by all conditions set forth by the state. He addresses me directly. Sergeant Harrington, ensure that Liam's emotional well-being remains paramount. The court will review this arrangement periodically. I manage a nod, overwhelmed. Liam is finally safe legally. No more battles to yank him away under false pretenses. Meredith crumples into tears at the verdict. Despite everything, I feel a twinge of pity. The guards gently guide her out of the courtroom. She looks over her shoulder, eyes red, but I can't read the expression regret, anger, or a plea for forgiveness. Harriet and Rob rush up to congratulate me. Harriet hugs me so tight I can barely breathe. Rob claps a hand on my shoulder, his grin subdued but genuine. "You did it," he says softly. "Liam's yours to protect now." Legal sentences for Adrian and Meredith come shortly after. The same judge from the fraud trial presides, sentencing Adrian to multiple years in prison for the array of crimes. Meredith receives a shorter term due to her lesser role, but there's still prison time, plus restitution. Their assets, fancy cars, the vacation property are seized. A portion of those funds will go back to the insurance company and possibly to a restitution fund for other defrauded families. I don't expect to see any large payout. I only want justice and security for Liam. Listening to the sentencing is surreal. I sit in the gallery, hearing the judge enumerate the crimes. Adrian's face is hard, defiant. Meredith trembles with quiet sobs. I feel an odd heaviness, as if a part of my life is officially closing. The loss of my old illusions is irreversible. There's no going back to the family we once were, or the friend I thought I had. Outside the courthouse, I stand in the midday sun, letting it warm my face. Harriet hovers, uncertain what to say. "How do you feel?" I stare at the traffic passing by, my breath ragged. Relieved, I guess, and sad. It's all so final. She nods, slipping an arm around my shoulders. "Sometimes the right thing still hurts. But you saved Liam, Ethan. And you brought down a fraud scheme hurting other families, too." I blink back tears. "Yeah," I whisper. "I guess that's what matters now." As we leave, the cameras from local news try to swarm, hungry for a statement about Adrian's sentencing. Rob blocks them, calmly saying I need privacy to regroup. I feel grateful for the protective shield of friends. My life has been on display long enough. Emotional toll sinks in the moment Harriet drops me off at the veterans shelter, where I'm still staying temporarily. Liam's at Harriet's house tonight, so he doesn't face the chaos of reporters. I sink onto the bed, pressing my palms against my eyes. Memories swirl. The day I enlisted, the wedding with Meredith, Adrian clapping my shoulder in congratulations. I never pictured it ending in prison sentences and custody battles. But there's also a fierce sense of purpose. I protected my son. I exposed a criminal network that preyed on soldiers' families. Adrian's grand illusions are shattered, and Meredith's manipulations are laid bare. It cost me the life I once knew, but I'm forging something new, something that might be stronger. Tomorrow, I start searching for a real home for Liam and me, a place we can heal and build normalcy again. The war might be over in the courtroom, but the aftershocks of betrayal linger. Even so, I find myself breathing easier. For the first time since I returned from overseas, I can picture a future where Liam and I walk forward without Adrian's shadow looming over us. A soft thump resonates as I set down the last moving box in the modest living room. "All right, buddy. Welcome to our new place," I say, turning to face Liam, who stands clutching a small stuffed dinosaur under his arm. He glances around, eyes wide. The space is simple, a two-bedroom rental with cream-colored walls and slightly worn carpet. But it's ours, free of the ghosts that haunted the old house. Liam offers a tentative smile. "It's kind of small," he says honestly, then shrugs. "But it's nice." I let out a small laugh. "We'll make it home, starting right now." Harriet appears behind me, carrying a bright blue rug she bought as a housewarming gift. She sets it down near the couch. "I figured Liam might like a splash of color," she says, ruffling his hair. He grins, dropping the dinosaur to test the rug's softness with his bare toes. "Yes, it's smaller than what we once had, but it feels like a haven. The last few weeks have been a swirl of legal wrap-ups and paperwork after Adrian and Meredith's sentencing, so I've been juggling therapy, fatherhood, and house hunting. When I finally found this rental near Liam's school, Harriet and Rob helped me with deposits, references, anything to get us settled quickly. Now I step over to the window, opening the blinds to let in a stream of morning light. The lawn outside is modest but neat, a single oak tree swaying in the breeze. A far cry from the fancy suburbs Meredith once insisted on, but that's fine. I want simplicity and peace. "Let's unpack your room first," I tell Liam. He scrambles down the hallway, excitement creeping into his voice as he ponders where to place his action figures. Harriet and I share a smile, relief evident in our postures. She pats my arm, then heads outside to bring in another box. By midday, we've made real progress. Rob drops by with lunch pizza boxes and soda, which we devour on the floor since I haven't reassembled the dining table yet. Liam chatters between bites, explaining how he wants to hang superhero posters and set up a desk for his homework. Even though he's only 6, he's got big ideas. It's good to see that spark in his eyes again, the innocence that was overshadowed for too long. After Harriet and Rob depart, the house is quiet. I walk through the rooms, envisioning how to arrange furniture, what color to paint the walls someday. In the master bedroom, a single bed awaits me, no fancy headboard, no mirrored closet, just enough for me to sleep, to dream about a better future. That night, once Liam is asleep, I curl up on the living room couch, a box of photo albums on my lap. Carefully, I flip through old pictures. Me and Meredith on our wedding day, Adrian grinning beside me at the reception. My chest aches at how genuine we all looked, how naive. A pang of regret mixes with the bitterness. I set those photos aside, rummaging for pictures of me and Liam. I find a favorite, him perched on my shoulders at a carnival, both of us laughing. That's the memory I choose to keep. A wave of flashbacks and nightmares rushes me later, in the dark. Memories of the ambush overseas blend with the betrayal at home, each dream thick with dust and heartbreak. But I remind myself that therapy is helping, that each day I reclaim a bit more of my mental space. When I wake up sweating, I force slow breaths and focus on the solid walls around me, on the knowledge that Liam's safe in his room. The next morning, I have an appointment at the VA for a therapy session. Dr. Porter, my counselor, a middle-aged man with a gentle demeanor, greets me in a small, cozy office. I settle into a chair, exhaling. "Big changes lately," Dr. Porter says, leaning forward. "How are you handling them?" I rub my eyes. Better than I expected. The nightmares haven't vanished, but I'm coping. Liam's excited about the new house. That helps. He nods. "You've been through a rare kind of betrayal coming home to find yourself declared dead, your wife and best friend complicit. Now they're convicted. That's a lot of emotional whiplash." I let out a dry laugh. That's an understatement. But focusing on Liam's well-being keeps me grounded. I want him to feel secure, free from all that chaos. Dr. Porter offers a reassuring smile. "And how about your own sense of closure?" The word closure reverberates in my mind. "I'm getting there," I say. "It's like the legal battle's done, but a piece of me still grapples with how easy it was for them to erase me on paper. I guess healing takes time, right?" He nods. "Absolutely, don't rush yourself. There's no fixed timeline for trust lost or illusions shattered." Leaving the VA center, I feel lighter, determined. I pick Liam up from Harriet's place. She watched him during my session. He climbs into the car, excitedly telling me about a new friend at school. Hearing him chatter about normal kid stuff, a friend's birthday, trading stickers makes my chest expand with gratitude. Over the following weeks, we pick up the pieces of our daily life. Liam and I develop routines: breakfast together at a wobbly secondhand kitchen table, walks to the school bus stop, evenings filled with homework, coloring projects mostly, and silly cartoons. I learned to cook simple meals, messing up sometimes but laughing it off. Harriet remains a constant presence, dropping by with groceries or just to chat. She beams every time she sees how well Liam's settling in. We have spontaneous dinners with Rob, who checks in on me with fatherly concern. And occasionally, Cassandra visits to sort leftover legal documents or discuss the final distribution of seized assets. She's always professional, but I sense a new warmth in her tone, a respect that wasn't there before. I'm grateful. Late at night, though, I still wrestle with memories. I'll be washing dishes, and a flash of Meredith's tear-streaked face in court will surface, or I'll drive past an old cafe Adrian and I used to frequent, feeling a gut punch of sorrow for the friendship that died long before I knew it. When these moments strike, I remind myself that I've chosen a new path. Each day in therapy and each morning greeting Liam in our new home confirm I'm not stuck in that betrayal anymore. One Saturday, Harriet hosts a small housewarming get-together. She and Rob bring decorations, a few neighbors pop by, Even Daniel makes an appearance, though he's a bit awkward in person, more comfortable behind a laptop. We eat barbecue and chat about normal topics, local sports, movies, the best pizza joint in town. For a moment, I catch myself smiling without the usual tension clinging to my jaw. It feels good, like life is creeping back in, filling the void Betrayal left behind. As the evening winds down, Liam runs around the yard with a neighborhood kid, shrieking with laughter. I watch him from the porch, Harriet at my side. She nudges me gently. "You've come a long way, Ethan. Don't forget to notice that." I swallow, looking at my son's carefree grin. "I guess I have," I reply, the realization settling in. The chaos has finally given way to something resembling normalcy. We still have challenges ahead, emotional scars, financial rebuilding, ensuring Liam fully recovers from the trauma, but we're here, in a cozy house that no one can take from us. My nightmares may still visit, but each day, I'm a little more present, a little more hopeful. When Liam barrels onto the porch, breathless, hugging me around the waist, I hug him back fiercely. In that moment, all the regrets, the illusions lost, the betrayal, it's still there, but overshadowed by the warmth of my son's embrace. We're picking up the pieces and building something new, one day at a time. Sunlight streams through the kitchen window as I pour cereal for Liam. He bounces on his toes, half awake but hungry. Early mornings have become a comfortable routine. Me in my old Marine Corps shirt, Liam in cartoon pajamas, the radio playing softly in the background. No more dread of what might happen next. We're in a steadier place now. We chat about his day's plans, spelling words, an art project, and I remind him of a dentist appointment next week. Normal parent stuff. I set a bowl of fruit in front of him, and he digs in, nodding along. It feels surreal how ordinary this is, considering the chaos we emerged from. After he hops on the school bus, I head back inside. There's a folder on the counter filled with career decisions brochures I've been collecting. The VA counselor suggested I explore ways to use my experiences, both military service and the ordeal of being declared dead, to help others. I skim through them again. One flyer is from a local nonprofit that supports families of MIA soldiers, helping them navigate the complexities so they don't fall victim to fraud. Another outlines a role consulting with the JAG office, educating staff on the potential loopholes that Adrian exploited. Both ideas leave a swirl of anticipation in my chest. I realize that maybe I have something valuable to offer from all this pain. A knock at the door interrupts my thoughts. I open it to find Rob standing on the porch, hands in his jacket pockets. "Got a minute?" he asks. "Just wanted to see how you're holding up." I invite him in and we settle around the small kitchen table. Rob glances at the folder. "Thinking about the future?" "Yeah," I say, exhaling. "I'm not sure I can go back to a normal 9-to-5. I feel like I need to do something meaningful, maybe help other vets or speak out about these insurance loopholes." He nods. That makes sense. After seeing how far Adrian got, shining a light on that system could save people a lot of grief. I lean back, sipping coffee. It's strange, isn't it? How something so devastating might push me into a path that helps others. I guess that's a silver lining. Rob offers a small smile. We all need purpose, especially after trauma. And you've got first-hand experience that can't be faked. We chat a bit longer, discussing possibilities. Rob mentions a contact at a local military support group who might want me to give a talk. I don't confirm anything yet, but I feel a glimmer of hope ignite. My life doesn't have to revolve around betrayal and anger. Maybe I can channel it into something constructive. That afternoon, I pick up Liam from school, and we stop by a park on the way home. He rushes for the playground, climbing the jungle gym with newfound confidence. I sit on a bench, enjoying the mild weather, until I notice a familiar face approaching. Cassandra Martin. She's dressed casually, carrying a small bag of groceries. "Didn't expect to see you here," I say, smiling. She shrugs. "I live nearby. Just got off duty." Her gaze shifts to Liam, who's squealing as he dangles from the monkey bars. "He looks happy?" I nod. He's doing better, day by day. I appreciate how Cassandra's support extended beyond the courtroom. She's become a friend, in her own reserved way. We talk about finalizing leftover legal documents, some restitution forms, a few administrative tasks ensuring Adrian and Meredith's convictions remain airtight. Then Cassandra hesitates, looking unsure. You know, the JAG office is setting up a workshop on preventing insurance fraud in military families. You'd be an ideal speaker, if you're interested. A nervous laugh escapes me. I was actually considering something along those lines. I glance at Liam again, remembering how close we came to losing each other under a cloud of lies. I want to help so that no one else goes through what we did. Cassandra's eyes glint with approval. We could set it up. No rush, just an option. Thanks, I murmur. I'll think about it. She waves goodbye, heading off with her grocery bag. I watch her go, my thoughts swirling. Another sign that maybe my experience can be put to good use. I turn my focus back to Liam, who's beckoning me to come push him on the swing. I chuckle, stepping onto the playground to join him. That evening, after Liam's in bed, I rummage through the last unopened moving box. Inside, I find the folder containing official letters from the funeral that never was, pictures from the day Meredith declared me dead. My stomach knots. Yet instead of anger, I feel a strange release. Those papers are relics of a nightmare that no longer controls me. I carry them to the kitchen trash bin, pausing. Some might say I should keep them for closure, but part of me wants to let it all go. Then an idea flickers. I'll keep a single page as a reminder of how far we've come, but the rest can go. I fish out one letter, my official death certificate. It's void now, but it stands as proof that I overcame a system that tried to bury me alive. The rest, I tear up, letting the scraps fall into the trash. Later, I sit on the couch, reading Liam a bedtime story. He curls up next to me, eyelids drooping. When I finish, he tugs my sleeve. Dad, do you still have to go away sometimes, like before? My heart twinges. No, buddy, I'm here. I'm not leaving you again. He nods, relieved. Good, he mumbles, drifting off. I watch him breathe, grateful we've found some measure of peace. Emotional shift creeps in over the next days. Where I once seethed with anger at Meredith and Adrian, I now sense a dull ache, overshadowed by a determination to move forward. Liam's well-being is the top priority. I focus on building structure, school drop-offs, cooking dinner, reading bedtime stories. In a small gesture of healing, Harriet and Rob organize a Sunday lunch at Harriet's cozy house. We gather around her dining table, me, Liam, Harriet, Rob, and even Daniel, who's still awkward but tries to join the conversation. The talk flows freely about normal things, a local sports event, Harriet's new gardening project, Liam's progress in school. At one point, Harriet proposes a quiet toast. She lifts her glass of lemonade, clearing her throat. To new beginnings, she says. Rob, Daniel, and I follow suit. Liam grins, raising his milk cup. The simple camaraderie warms me. It's not an extravagant party, but it feels more genuine than any gala Adrian ever hosted. Stepping outside afterward, I watch Liam chase a butterfly across Harriet's lawn. The sun sets in a blaze of orange and pink, and for a second I stand there, letting the beauty sink in. I'm not weighed down by fear or fury. Instead, I sense a door opening to a life where I can be a father, a mentor, maybe an advocate for others lost in bureaucratic nightmares. Yes, the scars remain memories of betrayal, nights of terror, but each day Liam's trust grows. He no longer calls Adrian daddy. He no longer shrinks away when I show affection. That shift gives me hope. In a world that tried to write me off as dead, I'm here, alive, and forging a path that might help people beyond my own family. As dusk settles, I call Liam over, and he dashes up to me, breathless and smiling. Taking his hand, I lead him inside. It's time to head home our home, and I realize with a quiet thrill that I'm no longer haunted by what was taken from me. Instead, I'm motivated by what I can build next. It's a glimmer of hope, small, steady, and enough to carry us forward. The morning sunlight filters through sheer curtains in my modest living room, illuminating a stack of envelopes that arrived earlier, bills, a few advertisements, and one slender letter marked with a non-profit logo. My heart quickens. It's from the organization I've been talking to about preventing military benefit fraud, a cause that hits close to home. I glance over at Liam, who sprawled on the floor with crayons and a half-finished drawing of a soldier in uniform. He's humming quietly to himself, the picture reminiscent of images he used to draw, except now, the soldier doesn't have angel wings. He's standing tall, grounded, alive. I swallow a lump of emotion, remembering how far we've come. Carefully, I open the letter. It's an official offer. They want me to join their task force aimed at tightening insurance policies and supporting families of MIA or KIA soldiers. My experiences both on the battlefield and in the courtroom could help shape reforms so other families don't suffer from the same betrayal I endured. A surge of relief and determination warms my chest. "Dad," Liam's voice pipes up, pulling me out of my thoughts. "What's that?" He pokes the letter with a curious finger. I kneel beside him, smiling. "Just some good news about a new job, one where I can help soldiers' families. You remember how everything got really hard because of false paperwork?" He nods solemnly. "Like how they said you were gone?" His eyes flick to the crayon soldier on the page. "Exactly," I say softly. "I'll be working to make sure that doesn't happen to other dads or moms." His face lights up. "That's awesome, Dad." My heart tugs at the simple, honest enthusiasm in his voice. I ruffle his hair. "It is, buddy. It really is." A few weeks later, I'm standing at a makeshift podium in a modest conference room downtown. The nonprofit's director asked if I'd say a few words to a small group of volunteers and local reporters. There's no fancy gala this time, just a practical meeting with fold-out chairs, a whiteboard, and coffee in styrofoam cups. I scan the room. Harriet sits among the volunteers, her hands folded on her lap, offering a supportive grin. Rob stands near the back, arms crossed, nodding when our gazes meet. I notice a couple of local journalists with notepads exchanging whispers. I exhale, gathering my nerves. "Hello," I begin, voice echoing slightly. "I'm Ethan Harrington, a former Marine sergeant. I came home under complicated circumstances." The understatement earns a soft chuckle from Harriet. "Now, I'm here to help ensure that no soldier's family faces the confusion and heartbreak mine did. Together, we can strengthen policies and close loopholes that let fraud slip through." A wave of quiet determination ripples in the room. I feel the weight of my past, but it doesn't crush me. Instead, it fuels me. I talk briefly about the importance of verifying MIA statuses, double-checking death certificates, and offering counseling to families. I keep the focus on solutions rather than dwelling on my personal bitterness. When I finish, there's a smattering of applause. Harriet and Rob beam. The director stands to confirm plans for training seminars, media campaigns, and collaboration with local lawmakers. I step aside, letting others take the spotlight. My mind buzzes with a sense of purpose that's more uplifting than I've felt in a long time. That night, I tuck Liam into bed early because he has a special event at school the next morning, Heroes Day, where kids share about family members who served in the military. He's brimming with excitement. I lean against his doorway, watching him carefully lay out a small American flag he borrowed from Harriet. "Dad, are you really coming to school tomorrow?" he asks, voice trembling with hope. I smile, crossing the room to sit on the edge of his bed. "Wouldn't miss it for anything, buddy. You want me there, right?" He nods vigorously, relief shining in his eyes. "Yeah, I want to show everyone my real hero." Those words nearly undo me. Months ago, the idea of being recognized, let alone admired, felt alien. But as he drifts off, my heart feels so full, I'm sure it'll burst. He's healing, trusting me again, seeing me as the father I always wanted to be. The next morning, we arrive at Liam's elementary school, hand in hand. The hallway is a cheerful chaos. Kids wearing miniature uniforms or carrying pictures of their loved ones in uniform, teachers directing them to the auditorium. When we reach the sign-in desk, a friendly volunteer hands me a visitor sticker. "Welcome, Sergeant Harrington," she says quietly, nodding at my old Marine jacket. "We're glad you could come." Inside the auditorium, parents sit in rows while students shuffle onto the small stage. A teacher calls out each child's name, and they step forward to introduce their hero or talk about their family member's service. Some mention grandparents from the Vietnam era, uncles who served in the Navy, older siblings in the Air Force. When Liam's turn comes, he looks a little nervous, but he spots me in the front row, and I give him a reassuring nod. He clutches his small flag, stepping up to the mic. My hero is my dad, Ethan Harrington. He's a Marine. Everyone said he was gone, but he was really fighting hard and came back. He's the bravest person I know. A hush falls over the room. I feel every set of eyes turn to me, but all I see is my son's earnest face. Emotions swirl pride, gratitude, the faint ache of memory. The teacher gently pats Liam's shoulder and he beams, stepping off stage. As the event concludes, parents mingle, many offering me warm words. One father, also a veteran, shakes my hand. He's a strong kid, he comments. You should be proud. I am. And it's in that moment I realize that, for all the darkness we endured, we've found a path forward. I'm building a legacy by helping others, and my son is building his own sense of security and pride. Nothing can rewrite the betrayal, but we're forging something out of its ashes, something that might become bigger than both of us. That evening, we celebrate with ice cream. Liam chatters about the other kids' stories, occasionally glancing at me with the same glimmer of admiration. I smile back, feeling a solid sense of hope. We've come a long way from the night I knocked on my own locked front door, half dead in spirit. Returning home, I check my email and see a flurry of media inquiries, local stations wanting to interview me about my new role. I skim them, overwhelmed but resolved to handle it carefully. After all, the press is how we spread awareness. If shining a spotlight on my experience saves another soldier's family from what I faced, it's worth it. I close the laptop, eyes drifting to where Liam's quietly drawing in the living room. He's sketching again. A father and son, arms linked, standing under an American flag. No angel wings in sight, no second daddy overshadowing me. Just the two of us, grounded in the present, forging a future. The image resonates in my chest, a silent testament to the bond we've reclaimed. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, the memories still sting. But I see the beginnings of a legacy that might outlast the betrayal. Each day, each new conversation about policy reform, each bedtime story with Liam, proves that some wounds can be turned into something meaningful. We're no longer defined by what was stolen from us, but by what we choose to build together. The next few weeks pass in a blur of conferences, interviews, and quiet nights at home with Liam. People keep asking about my inspirational journey, wanting headlines or sound bites. I do my best to stay grounded, focusing on real change rather than personal glory. It's all part of a slow-motion shift away from the bitterness that once consumed me. One chilly afternoon, I'm in a small cafe downtown, waiting for a colleague from the nonprofit. The place smells of fresh pastries and espresso. I glance at my phone 5 minutes early. I take a seat at a corner table, the hum of relaxed conversation around me. Just as I'm about to open my notes, I sense a presence near the door. Cassandra Martin steps in, scanning the cafe with a cautious expression. We haven't seen each other in a few weeks. She'd been busy with some JAG paperwork out of state. Our gazes lock, and a little spark of recognition warms my chest. She makes her way over, a hint of a smile forming. Ethan, hey. Didn't expect to see you here. Likewise, I reply, voice steady, but tinged with something that feels suspiciously like nerves. How have you been? She shrugs out of her coat, revealing a casual sweater, a departure from her usual professional attire. Busy, tying up loose ends with some cases. And you? I nod. Working with that anti-fraud nonprofit, doing interviews, trying to keep up with Liam. A small grin tugs at my lips. He's in a superhero phase again. Cassandra's eyes brighten with amusement. That's good. Means he's bouncing back, right? Yeah, I say quietly. He's so resilient. She gestures to the empty chair, eyebrows raised. Mind if I join you? Please, I say, feeling a mix of relief and a flutter of something else. We chat over coffee for half an hour, touching on the day's mundane details, her JAG responsibilities, my latest policy proposal. The conversation drifts seamlessly into personal territory, favorite books, shared frustrations over endless paperwork. It feels normal, comforting. When she leaves, we exchange a quick hug. It's a small moment, but I walk out of the cafe with a peculiar lightness in my chest, a tentative sense that maybe there's room for something more in my life beyond fatherhood and advocacy, a glimmer of heart's healing, if you will. Days later, Harriet invites me to a community center event where veterans mentor younger soldiers recently back from deployment. She believes my story could inspire them. So, on a Tuesday evening, I find myself at a long table talking quietly with two anxious-looking Marines. They remind me of my younger self, uncertain how to transition from war to civilian life. I share bits of my experiences, leaving out the extreme personal betrayals for now, focusing on the importance of mental health, forging supportive relationships, and not letting trauma define you. One Marine asks if the rumors are true that I was declared dead on paper. I manage a small laugh, acknowledging it happened, but I keep the details minimal. They don't need my entire saga. They just need to see that survival and recovery are possible on multiple fronts. Afterward, Harriet catches me in the hallway. "You did great," she says, a proud note in her voice. They looked so relieved to hear from someone who's been through the ringer. I exhale, shoulders relaxing. "Thanks. It feels right, giving back like this." She nods, then hesitates. "By the way, Cassandra was asking if you'd be interested in co-hosting a workshop for JAG officers next month. She said you two spoke recently?" My pulse hitches slightly. Yeah. We ran into each other at a cafe. She mentioned something like that." Harriet's amused grin suggests she suspects there's more to that encounter. I clear my throat, changing the subject. "We'll see." That weekend, mentorship takes another form. A young veteran named Alan reaches out, having heard of my story through local news. He's struggling with distrust. He confides that he's afraid to deploy again, worried that his fiancée might pull a similar betrayal. We meet at a quiet park bench, the winter wind rustling skeletal trees. "I'm scared," Alan admits, voice trembling. "I love her, but your story, it shook me up." I feel the pang of empathy. I get it. Trust was shattered for me too, but not everyone's like that. Sometimes fear magnifies the worst possibilities. I pause, recalling my own journey. My best advice: talk it through, set up safeguards, keep communication open, and don't let fear of betrayal lock you away from real connection. He nods, uncertain. I clasp his shoulder. "You're stronger than you know," I add gently. "And your fiancé deserves to know your fears so you can face them together. Don't let my past define your future." We part ways, Alan's expression lighter. Watching him walk off, I sense how sharing these lessons can help other returning soldiers. My personal agony might become a shield for them, another sign of my own heart's healing. A few days later, I do something I never thought I would: visit Meredith in prison. It's an optional step I'd debated for weeks. But let's just say the final nudge came after a quiet conversation with Harriet, who reminded me that closure sometimes demands seeing the other person's face. The sterile visiting room smells of disinfectant and anxiety. Meredith appears on the other side of the plexiglass partition, wearing a standard prison uniform. She looks thinner, eyes sunken. The guard instructs us on time limits and the phone handset we must use. When I pick up the receiver, my breath catches. Meredith does the same, tears already brimming. "Ethan," she whispers. I swallow. I wasn't sure I'd come, but I needed, I don't know. Maybe to see for myself. She wipes her cheek. "I'm so sorry," she murmurs. I know saying it now doesn't change anything." A swirl of old anger and sorrow churns in my gut. "No, it doesn't," I reply softly. "But I accept your apology, for what it's worth. Not for your sake, but for mine." She nods, tears spilling. We talk briefly about Liam. She asks if he's okay. I confirm he's doing well, happy. She seems relieved but heartbroken. The conversation is stilted, a reminder of the chasm between us. When the guard signals time is up, I hang up the handset. "Take care," I say, voice subdued. Then I walk away, chest feeling both heavy and oddly unburdened. It's another step in letting go. That evening, I arrive home to find Liam playing with his toys, quietly humming a tune he learned at school. I join him, lying on the carpet, no words needed. Eventually, he rests his head on my shoulder, a comfortable silence enveloping us. My mind drifts to Cassandra, to the workshop we might co-host, to the mentorship sessions, and yes, even to the prison visit. A tapestry of experiences that once felt impossible to reconcile, but now begin to weave into a picture of growth. Outside, the winter wind howls against the window. Inside, the warmth of our small living room embraces us. The past is the past, a bitter end for a wife who betrayed me, but the revenge I sought has transformed into something bigger: healing, guidance, and a future that feels open for the first time in ages. Liam's eyelids droop, and he yawns, leaning closer. I gently carry him to bed, tucking him in. My heart feels full, not with the old rage, but with a quiet contentment. Yes, there's still pain, memories that will never vanish. But piece by piece, I'm finding closure. And with that closure, a chance to let my heart heal enough to welcome whatever tomorrow holds, even if it involves cautious new affections and a mission bigger than my own scars. Dawn breaks over the low horizon as I drive along a rural highway, Liam snoozing in the back seat. The trunk holds a small wreath and a few mementos. I'm on my way to honor fallen comrades, those who fought alongside me overseas, some of whom never returned. It's a personal tradition I've neglected for too long, overshadowed by the turmoil of betrayal. The sky is a tapestry of pink and gold by the time we reach the veterans' cemetery, rows of identical marble headstones stretching in neat lines. Liam yawns, rubbing his eyes. He's never been here before, but I explain gently that this place holds the memories of my brothers in arms. He follows me quietly, clutching a little American flag. At one particular plot, I kneel, heart pounding. I set the wreath down. My mind drifts to the last time I saw them, Rodriguez and Miller, two men who sacrificed themselves so I might live. I survived that ambush, only to come home and discover another war had been waged on my identity. Part of me feels guilty I couldn't visit their graves sooner. I bow my head, offering silent thanks, gratitude, and a vow to carry their spirit forward. Liam stands beside me, placing the small flag near the headstone. He doesn't say much, but I see understanding in his eyes. He knows they're important to me. I close my eyes, a quiet prayer on my lips. The morning air is cold but not unkind. When I rise, I feel a subtle shift, as if the weight on my shoulders is slightly lighter. Back in town, Harriet has arranged a neighborhood barbecue at her cozy place, partly as a celebration of new beginnings. Word spreads that it's also to honor my reintroduction as a respected figure in the community. It's not an official ceremony, but Harriet insists on calling it my reinstatement party, a playful nod to the bizarre notion that I was dead on paper for a while. I arrive mid-afternoon, Liam skipping at my side, the smell of grilled hot dogs already wafting from her backyard. A mix of neighbors, friendly faces from the nonprofit, and old acquaintances gather around foldable tables and a modest buffet. I spot Rob, flipping burgers, waving me over with a spatula. Daniel hovers in conversation with some tech-savvy local, both speaking in hushed excitement about cybersecurity improvements. Cassandra stands near a table of salads, chatting with Harriet, occasionally scanning the crowd with a thoughtful smile. Liam darts off to join other kids playing tag on the lawn. Music plays softly from a portable speaker, an upbeat tune that contrasts with the heaviness we once carried. People greet me warmly, some asking for updates about my advocacy work. I share modest details, humbly, because this party isn't about formal speeches, it's about community, about acknowledging life beyond betrayal. Harriet clinks a spoon against her glass, calling for attention. The chatter dies down and she gestures toward me. Everyone, thank you for coming. Many of you know Ethan's story, and while it's been tough, he's come out on the other side stronger. We wanted to gather and, well, just say we're glad he's here. For real this time. Laughter ripples. Harriet's face glows with pride. I grin, stepping up. Thanks, Harriet. I owe so much to your kindness, I say, voice cracking slightly. And to everyone here, Rob, Daniel, Cassandra, for standing by me and my son. It's an honor to be welcomed back like this. A quick wave of applause follows, and I raise a hand to quell it. But enough about me. Let's eat. The crowd disperses with good-natured chuckles. I notice Cassandra approaching, plate in hand. Nice speech, she teases. You heard the part where I said I hate speeches, right? I quip, fiddling with a plastic fork. She smirks, offering me a spoonful of potato salad, which I accept. Our eyes meet, a gentle warmth passing between us that doesn't need words. We drift into comfortable conversation, discussing minor workplace dramas and upcoming events. Meanwhile, Liam races by, laughing with a crew of kids in tow. Harriet calls for them to slow down near the grill. My chest swells with quiet contentment, seeing my son so free, no longer burdened by the confusion of calling two men Dad. He's forging new friendships, living the childhood he deserves. When dusk settles, strings of fairy lights turn Harriet's backyard into a cozy haven. People gather around a crackling fire pit, telling stories or roasting marshmallows. Rob jokes about the time I nearly tackled him during a stakeout, and Harriet regales us with tales of watching Adrian pace the neighborhood like a prowling cat, dark humor that we can now chuckle at, safe in the knowledge that chapter is over. Halfway through the evening, Cassandra taps my shoulder. "Want to take a walk?" she murmurs, nodding toward the quiet street beyond Harriet's fence. My heart does a small flip. "Sure," I manage, setting my paper plate down. We slip away from the crowd, strolling beneath streetlights that cast elongated shadows on the pavement. The night air is crisp, carrying hints of pine and distant barbecue smoke. I feel an odd mixture of nerves and calm, reminded of how rarely I've let myself consider the possibility of companionship since everything fell apart. "How's Liam adjusting to your new schedule?" she asks, stuffing her hands in her jacket pockets. I shrug, a small smile playing on my lips. "He's good. Loves that I'm working from home part-time, gives him an excuse to bug me for snacks." She laughs softly. "Kids sense when things are stable, right? He's probably relieved you're not leaving for war or, disappearing again." I nod, sobering. "Yeah, I won't let that happen." A comfortable silence drapes over us. My mind drifts to the story's beginnings, my homecoming, the shock, the betrayal. Now I'm walking in the moonlight with someone I trust, my son safe at a backyard party among friends. It's a jarring contrast, but a welcome one. Eventually, Cassandra stops by a street corner under a flickering lamp. She turns to me, expression open yet cautious. "Ethan, there's something I've been meaning to say. You're not the same man I met months ago, desperate and angry. You've found something like peace, and I admire that." A lump forms in my throat. I'm working on it. Sometimes I still look over my shoulder, expecting the past to jump out. She gives a knowing smile. "Past doesn't vanish, but it doesn't have to control you." She steps closer, eyes flicking up to meet mine. "You're forging a new identity, the soldier within, but also a father, a mentor, an advocate. It's inspiring." Warmth flows through my chest. "Thanks," I murmur, words feeling inadequate. Silence stretches, a hint of electricity in the air. We stand there, uncertain if we're crossing a line or stepping onto a new path. Finally, she steps back, smiling gently. "We should probably get back before Harriet sends out a search party." I chuckle, nodding. "Yeah, let's go." As we walk, a gentle sense of possibility lingers. Maybe life holds second chances beyond revenge and heartbreak. Maybe healing includes the possibility of real human connection, free from the shadows of betrayal. The reflection of streetlights in Cassandra's eyes makes me wonder, could this be the start of something more? At Harriet's gate, the distant laughter reminds me of the simple community support that carried me through my darkest hours. Liam waves, spotting me, and I wave back, heart lighter than it's been in years. This is me, a soldier within, tempered by betrayal, choosing to let hope in. The morning sky unfolds in shades of lavender and gold as Liam and I climb a rocky trail near the edge of town. This overlook is said to offer a panoramic view of the entire valley. We've decided to greet the sunrise here, a quiet father-son adventure. My breath puffs in the crisp air, but there's a calm anticipation thrumming under my skin. Liam scampers ahead, still clutching that small American flag he's fond of, the one he used for Heroes Day. I keep a protective eye on him, mindful of the uneven terrain. The hush of dawn is broken only by distant bird calls and the rustle of wind in the brush. Eventually, we reach a wide ledge overlooking rolling hills and a distant ribbon of highway. Below us, the world stirs awake tiny houses, farmland, the faint glitter of city buildings on the horizon. A new dawn in every sense. I set down my backpack, retrieving a folded document from an inside pocket. The sight of it makes my chest tighten. It's the last piece of official paper declaring me deceased. The system has already voided it, but I've held on to this copy as a grim memento, a reminder of how close I came to being erased on paper and in Liam's life. Liam ambles over. "Dad, what you got?" he asks, curious. I kneel, letting him see the bold lettering, death certificate. His brow furrows. "Is that the paper that said you were gone?" I nod slowly. "Yeah, but we don't need it anymore." My voice trembles slightly. "I'm right here." He sets a hand on my shoulder, eyes reflecting quiet understanding beyond his years. In that moment, I realize how resilient children can be, how he's grown from this ordeal in ways I never expected. I tear the paper in half once, twice, until it's just scraps fluttering in the breeze like confetti. Liam watches silently, then a small grin appears. We let the wind carry the remnants away. It feels symbolic, a literal farewell to the past that tried to define us. I exhale, shoulders relaxing as though a final weight lifts. We settle on the ledge, side by side. Liam takes out snacks, crackers, and juice, handing me a packet. We munch quietly, savoring the hush of sunrise. When the sun finally peeks over the horizon, bathing the valley in warm light, my chest constricts with emotion. A year ago, I was locked in nightmares of betrayal. Now I'm free, forging new paths for Liam and me. "You like it, buddy?" I ask, nodding at the view. Liam nods, eyes shining. "Yeah, it's big. Feels like I can see everything." A gentle breeze ruffles his hair. I place an arm around him, letting the beauty sink in. "This is where we stand now," I say softly, though I'm not sure if I'm speaking to him or myself. High up, seeing things clearly. Time slips by as the sun rises fully. Eventually, we make our way down the trail, chatting about random kid stuff, homework, a new dinosaur book he wants. My phone buzzes, a text from Harriet reminding me of the barbecue next week, another from Rob, wanting to confirm a mentorship meeting, and a short message from Cassandra. "We set a date for the JAG workshop? Ready?" My life is full, busy, and brimming with a sense of meaningful direction. Back home, Liam dashes off to call Harriet about some recipe he wants to try. I linger in the living room, absorbing the silence. My gaze wanders to the mantel, where I've placed a small framed photo of me in uniform with Liam on my lap. It's a new picture, taken after the dust settled, capturing a genuine smile on both our faces. Memories flood my mind. The initial shock of finding my house changed, the funeral without a body, the confrontation at the gala, the court battles, forging new allies, building a new home, sealing the death certificate in my past. All culminating in a quiet vantage point this morning, standing with my son, letting go of the final piece of official proof that once declared me gone. I realize this is triumph and closure, not just the legal or emotional victory, but the day-to-day living that reaffirms we survived. I survived. Liam survived. We found a better horizon together. Later, Harriet, Rob, and Daniel stop by for a casual lunch. While we eat, Harriet notices an old binder labeled "Deceased Ethan Harrington" on a shelf. She glances at me questioningly. I shrug. "That's the last official record," I explain. "Just a footnote now." Rob smirks. "Hope you don't plan on displaying that next to your service medals." We all chuckle. The conversation shifts to future plans, Rob's idea for a local support group, Daniel's tech initiatives to block fraudulent claims, Harriet's unwavering dedication to community events. Cassandra's name surfaces when Harriet teasingly suggests I invite her for dinner sometime. I roll my eyes but feel a warmth creeping up my neck. After lunch, we gather in my living room, flipping through a local newspaper that features an article on my advocacy work. Liam peers over my shoulder, fascinated by the photo of me testifying about insurance reforms. I glance at him with a gentle smile. He's growing up seeing his father fight for something beyond our personal story. That, in itself, is the biggest gift of all. Eventually, Harriet and the others depart. Liam rushes to the backyard, playing with a soccer ball. I watch him from the window, realizing this is the new dawn we've achieved. Everyday life, steady and anchored by truth instead of lies. No more secrets, no more betrayal overshadowing us. I step outside, the late afternoon sun warm on my arms. Liam kicks the ball my way and I pretend to fumble, eliciting giggles from him. We set up an impromptu minigame, him weaving around me exaggerating attempts to block. The yard fills with bright laughter, echoing the possibility of a carefree future. Eventually we collapse on the grass, breathless, and happy. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in gold. Liam rolls onto his back, staring at the clouds. "Dad, do you think everything will be okay now?" I prop myself up on an elbow, giving him a soft smile. "I do," I say gently. "We'll have challenges, but we'll face them together. No more secrets, no more running." He nods, that boyish grin lighting his face. We remain there, side by side on the grass, as the evening swells around us with promise. As dusk settles, I take a quiet moment inside to reflect. In a small drawer by my desk, there's a single page from my old death certificate, just the heading, kept as a historical artifact. But now, I slip it out, glance at it, and tear it once more into smaller pieces. No more reason to cling to that symbol. Dropping the fragments into the trash, I feel a final wave of relief. Looking ahead, I see a horizon not bounded by bitterness or the memory of betrayal, but by the vow to keep protecting my son and any other soldier's family who might be targeted by fraud or manipulation. This vow extends beyond revenge. It's a mission of compassion and strength. In the living room, Liam's scribbling in his notebook. I lean over, noticing he's drawn two figures again, father and son, arms linked beneath a bright sun. Above them, he's written in clumsy letters, "Dad and me forever. Yes, forever." A vow that stands against all attempts to bury us. We've reached the new dawn, forging a life where betrayal is only a chapter in the story, not the final word. I ruffle his hair, and he looks up with that unguarded smile. My heart swells, certain that whatever comes next, we'll face it on our own terms, hand in hand.